Okay. Okay. All right. I need to get rid of that. Hold on. 1 second. Where? Oh, fuck. Hey, how's it going? Trying to figure out how to remove this. Oh, not bad. Just chilling. It's really fucking hot outside. How are you today? Um, I need to fix something real quick. God damn it. Oh, the fuck. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what? Fuck it. It doesn't matter. I don't care right now. Is it your all-time favorite? I wouldn't say it's my all-time favorite game. It's just the only game that I can mindlessly do while I respond to stuff. Because if I was playing like a different game, I would have to put all my focus into it, and I wouldn't be able to react to videos. So, yeah. What kind of games do you like? A second. 1 second. Fuck. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? I can't change that, can I? Because this is definitely not my first stream. I feel like I'm lying to people. Um, yeah, well, what the hell? I have not been streaming long at all. I don't even have a consistent schedule, actually. I work a lot, so like I just dedicated this whole day to trying to stream to at least, I don't know, make some type of difference, add some extra hours to it instead of like 1 hour maybe a week. But it, maybe my eyes are fucking with me. I can't tell if this is ALR or AR. Anyway, uh, I'm going to be reacting to a conversation between, or multiple conversations, in fact, between Destiny and MrGirl because I find their conversations. So you stream. Hi, Lauren. How are you? So you stream on I don't have either. I don't have a daily basis or a specific schedule because I stream, not stream now. I work a fuck ton. So it's just like I had to actually deliberately make time to just stream because after like a full work shift, like I really don't feel like doing this shit. As lack of an effort as it is, just being online, talking, reacting to things, pausing a videos, as first world problem me as that sounds. Yeah, I hope that's. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better answer than that. Um, but yeah, so hold on, let me separate these videos. Let me do that. Let me do the window capture. One moment. There we go. Okay. Now that that's up on screen, we're gonna move that over here. I'm gonna move the kick chat. Can I ask you? Yeah, go ahead and ask. I'm pretty much an open book for anything as long as it's not too personal. Go ahead and ask. Yep. I don't give a fuck. Actually, I'm an industry. I do work with streaming and make streams as a subscription with some permission. Let me know if you have any plans to add some customized stuff to your channel. I appreciate the offer when I'm not broke anymore. I will reach out to you. Um, I always feel bad, honestly, when people like offer their services to me because I don't want it to come off as if I'm not interested. I just don't have the money to do it. I have a lot of debt to pay off. So I'm like trying to just funnel every dollar I can towards let me pay off the shit. And then, especially considering that I don't have a consistent streaming schedule, I can't put in the type of effort that I would want to be able to. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for understanding. I think I offended someone before about that. So, do you have Discord or any other socials? I do have a Discord. Sure, if you want to share it to me. I do have a Discord, but I'm not have a Discord. Let me not speak like that, but I do I do have it downloaded. I'm never on it. I'm really never on it. Because I never have a reason to be. Hopefully that the streaming shit takes off. I will have a reason for it. And then, yeah. Can you send me your Discord? Sure. If I can remember. Hold on. Let me pull it up, actually. Um, a moment. Oh, wait. I'm waiting for the update. Okay. Now we're installing the update. While we're at it, we'll go ahead and start doing it. Oh, I'm already on the right floor. Okay. Discord is still loading. Who's Kathy Zero? Okay. I think I have a grotesque name. Do I have my grotesque name on here as Booty Warrior? I'm sorry about that. Yeah, agree to terms of service, even though I didn't read it because I never do. Okay, you said your name was Kathy Zero. Kathy _ Zero. Search. Well, search all, not just. Okay, hold on. How do you. Fucking shit. See, that's how you know I'm a fucking noob. I don't even know how Discord works. Yeah, I'll add you both. If I can try to be a smart person for just a moment. Fucking shit. Add friend. Yo, add friend. Of course, the obvious button that's in my fucking face. Right, that makes sense. All right, so friend requested Kathy Zero. I did an uppercase K. Is it case sensitive? Because I'm not sure if that's the case. Lauren Mile. Okay. Lauren Mile. Sent. Okay. If it's case sensitive, Kathy, then I sent it to the wrong person because I put a capital K. Fuck. Okay, hold on. Let me let me do a lowercase. It probably is fucking case sensitive. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If I could retract a sending request. Okay. All right. I've added you both. I'm gonna shorten this window so it's just the kick chat. All I need is a kick chat. I don't need fucking shit. Okay, well I guess that's it. That's the best we can do. Okay. Um but let me go ahead and get to the stream. As much as I enjoy the attention, I'm honestly flattered that you will come to somebody who has absolutely nothing. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start this because I really think this is a very interesting conversation. Most people will be very focused on what they personally believe and not like what we can glean from the conversation, such that like not such that. What I mean by that is there are people who will watch arguments, people who will watch debates, people who will watch conversations, listen to podcasts, only for like the reinforcement of their own idea, not necessarily to understand a different point of view, not to broaden their mind, broaden their horizon for different ways and new ways of thinking. And that's what I want my channel to be focused on. You don't have to agree with me. You can think I'm fucking crazy. That's fine. As long as I never thought about that before. And that is my goal. I'll send you a profile in Discord. Yeah, take it down. I'm gonna be just gaming away and listening to this video. So that's all I'm gonna be doing for the rest of the day. Or at least try to, unless I gotta take shit.
I've listened to you. I've gotten to know you for a while, and I think you're a pedophile.
I think that the best positions that you can find
We're already starting off crazy.
resolve tension from both sides. Can't really look to the right for good answers because on that side they seem to reject.
We're going 1.5 this because there's a lot of videos to get there, so I'm going on 1.5 this shit. Can you see my message, buddy? Let me see. Fuck, wrong one. There's so many windows up. Is it? Oh, Discord, right? Oh, I do see. Okay. All right. This is definitely interesting. That Kakashi shit is fucking beast. Okay, the Zoro. Okay, respect, respect. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's pretty fucking good. Yeah. I like it. I definitely like it. Yeah. I can't do no shit like that. All right, Kathy, let me look at yours. I'm a creative visual artist with a keen eye for aesthetics and 6 years of experience. Well, you're 6 years ahead of me, I can tell you that. I specialize in crafting visually stunning designs that are captivate audiences. Okay. I can tell both Kathy and Lauren seem like they deeply enjoy anime, which I do as well. Can you see? Yeah, I can see him. I'm rereading fucking messages. Y'all shit looks good as fuck. I hope that I can match y'all. Yeah, no problem. Like, credit where credit is due. I can't draw no shit like that. The best I could do is a circle. And it is crooked. It's not even completely round, so. Okay. Yeah, both of y'all shit look good as fuck. Lauren and Kathy. Kathy, if you made that picture next to the message you have about your 6 years of experience, yeah, both of y'all got some talent. Yeah, definitely 100%.
The science related to trans people, that there is like this I wish I could remember it, something like some base part of the brain cell, like you can measure these parts, and in trans women.
I also want to say ahead of time, if I don't respond to something immediately, it's because like I'm looking at the game. Like I got a laptop. I should probably get a bigger screen than this, but I don't have a lot of space. Everything's like cluttered on this screen. Actually, I should move this up here. I should be able to move the chat up here, and well, at least the kick chat. Excuse me. Okay, that should be okay. Well, that'll help a lot. Okay, now not everything is not on the same fucking screen. Okay. All right, we're good to go. Wait, hold on. I gotta. Shit. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. Now we're good.
So men who identify as women,
Boom.
they will have. I believe that external validation is really important. Like I need to be able to.
I talked to my girlfriend about taking testosterone when we first met.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a weird
If you were to wake up
ass.
tomorrow as a woman who moves in vagina and get a woman's body, whatever, would you be like okay with that, or?
I'd be okay with it, but I'm a freak. If I had to be gay, I could be gay.
Okay.
I would go down on Keanu Reeves. I didn't know that about myself. And the more I thought about it, the more it's like, I get it. Okay. So I definitely.
Yo, this conversation is already starting off wild.
What? Wait, what are we figuring out?
The gender, the trans thing.
Well, I guess that's what we're talking
So I
about.
need to. I might have to reduce the quality of my video.
What do you want?
Trying to stream from a laptop.
How does this normally kind of?
Well, we can do whatever we want. Or introduce yourself so people know who they are. Find your good stuff.
I'm MrGirl. MrGirl on YouTube.com. MrGirl. I talk about politics and stuff. I have some rap videos. You might have seen my infamous Cuties review. And
Okay.
I guess the point of my channel is to get people to understand each other across party lines. And
For people who don't know, this man watched there's something called Cuties out there. I've never seen it because I'm really not trying to. But basically, the goal of Cuties is to get people to understand the ramifications of sexualizing little girls. And their method of going about doing so is to sexualize little girls. And the reason for them doing that is because unless something is alarming, unless something is outrageous, people won't pay attention to it. Which is true. People usually don't give a fuck about problems unless they're directly affected. So
to empathize with each other more and hate each other.
I'm gonna reduce the quality of
Those are
this.
noble goals. I
Out
kinda
the
do that.
fuck,
I'm
because
also
I just
reading
need
so.
the audio.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Absolutely. I just need the audio.
Yeah. What do you want to chat about today? Or what did you see of mine that you were like, oh, I need to talk to this guy and set him straight on this thing?
Okay, so I watched your debating a stubborn conservative about gender video, and it feels like you're
Shit laggy as fuck.
you're obviously very smart, so and you're able to kind of fend off all of the different camps. Like there's the cancel culture you have to agree with us or we're going to kill you group, that you're pretty good at pushing them away. And then there's the conservative, this is a mental disorder, this is all nonsense group. And then I think TERFs, and it just listening to you talk about it, it seems like you're kind of like in the middle and kind of pushing everybody away.
It's just rare to find someone in the middle.
Okay.
Most people are.
I don't like the term in the middle there. I think I have like a pretty firm position staked out at one point in when it comes to trans people, but
and yet you're surrounded. You're surrounded all the same.
True. Yeah.
So, right. So yeah. Your position is, as I understand it, that the APA is saying that it's not a mental disorder now, and you are adopting their stance because we need to have a central definition agency of some kind.
Sure.
That we.
Be careful here because depending on, there's going to be some tension between what like studies show. Like imagine if studies break away or diverge from the human experience, it's going to be really hard. It's like at a certain point it's not going to matter. Like what if there was a study that showed you, well, actually the sky isn't blue, it's actually green, but the way our eyes work, everyone's going to be like, I don't care, bro, this shit is blue. And at that point, what do? Like if everyone, in a lot of ways, society is built off of a collective viewpoint of what is actually true.
Use diagnoses as, I guess, for their utility. And so there's no utility in calling it a mental illness. We use definitions of words for their utility, so there is utility in calling trans women women.
I don't know if I defend that one. It depends on the conversation I've had, I guess, but yeah, I feel like that's a big muddying of the waters. I don't like when people...
You don't like the semantics.
Well, because trans women are women, it seems like we're erasing a lot of the problems that trans people have, and it's just kind of a nonsense statement because, well, we have the term trans women and they're women. It's basically trying to say, like, it's trying to get rid of, like, all of the gender disparity between trans women and women and just to have them all be treated the same, but for some reasons that can't be true, and then it also is just, like, a very, like, muddying the water statement. I just don't like.
It makes it so you can no longer talk about trans issues.
Kind of, yeah.
If it's literally the truth, then there's no way to talk about trans.
Yeah, that's true, because if you think about it, because if you say trans women are women, then you're saying, then at the same time, you're saying trans people don't exist. Like, you would have to say both at the same time. Like, from just like it's just another type of woman to look at it. Like, it's kind of like saying handicapped people are people. They are. But if you try to erase that line to where that distinction by using the word handicap so that other people understand, there's no, okay, well, why do we need handicap accessible places? Like they're just like us, right? We don't need to make it almost like it's like a thing where like you want to be inclusive, so you want to almost kind of like not hand wave the distinction, but more so you want to, you don't, because when we make distinctions in society, it's always like a lot of people tend to make distinctions for negative reasons. I want to view this person as different to justify a certain negative behavior that I want to carry out on them. And that's kind of what so when we make the distinction trans women to trans men, there's already a program in your head going, okay, well, we're making the distinction. Oh, these people are different. These people are bad. These people are negative. Everything it's like you have to like kind of like work against that, and it's just like a distinction is just a distinction. It's just saying that this category of things are different than this category of things, even if they can be under the same umbrella. Tell me what I can do for your channel. I am, like I said earlier, I am not in a position to where, because here's the thing, I would rather you focus your talents on someone that has a regular streaming schedule, that has capital to put into their streaming. I'm doing this the cheapest way I can right now until I can't anymore. That's that's how I'm doing that. So I'm definitely interested. Don't get me wrong. I 100% would like to clean my shit up to make it way more presentable, because like half of your shit is optics, half of your shit is how you present yourself to the world, and I understand and know how important that is. But I'm just not in a position to pay anyone to do that. Only because of just my financial situation at the moment. We'll see where I am in 6 months to a year, when I can quit some of the jobs I have and then focus all that time into streaming. And then once I'm able to actually do that, but yeah, I wouldn't want you, again, so I just want to say that's not a rejection. I am interested. It's just I'm not at a stage in the streaming career to where like I can really, yeah. I just another way to say it, I just don't have the fucking money for it. I don't want anybody working for free. I don't want anyone's wasting. I don't want anyone wasting their time with me. When you have another, there are probably like thousands of other streamers out there who have a regular schedule, can do this every day, and would love to have you perform a service for them or have a But I'm just not there yet. Right now, I'm literally only streaming just for fun, just because I think my opinion personally, as egoic as it might sound, I think my opinion is pretty important because I feel like it's much different than other people around me or other people on the internet. So that's where I'm at. And for those who are watching, this is not my first stream. That is a lie. I just don't know how to change that.
Trans women because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, kind of. And everybody obviously, well, trans women are women, and why do trans women have any problems? They're just women, right? But obviously there's more to it than that. I just think it's a really reductive, silly statement. I don't know how important that is to this conversation.
And
I feel fucking
and I
attacked.
remember him saying that if you were in the 60s when the DSM was saying that being gay was a mental illness, then you would have agreed. Then.
Hey, whoa, guys, whoa. If you're on YouTube right now, we're trying desperately. Okay? August is getting fired if I don't hit 400,000 subs by the 1st. So if you like August editing, if you like my editor, okay, you better subscribe and hit the bell, okay? I need 4,000 subs, guys, in 10 days.
Keep summoning people.
10 days.
Son of a bitch.
Based on the way you're saying, like the APA decides, and I accept their definition.
So there's two parts. So one. If I'm being intellectually honest, like, it's kind of like asking me, like, well, in the 1700s, would you have been racist? I mean, like, honestly, probably, right? It would be nice. It's like, well, no, I think I stand as a beacon of, like, objective morality. I don't believe in any kind of relativism. I think that I would be able to make these moral statements regardless of time and place, but I'm going to be a slave to the times at some point.
Okay, but if you knew what you...
Great, that's another thing. A lot of people like to look back reach back in the past, and... I'm sorry, I'm having multiple thoughts at the same time. A lot of people like to reach back in the past and project today's morality onto the people of the past. My thing is, like, as gross as it may be and as dissatisfied as it may be, don't worry about it. I appreciate that. If I run into some money soon, if I have some, actually, you know what? If I have some extra money after I pay, you know, people get paid twice a month, typically. If I have some extra money after I pay my bills, and it's like hundreds. Actually, no, it's like over $1,000 in bills for the first half of the month and for the second half of the month. So it's quite a bit. But if I have some extra money, maybe I can pull an extra Uber Eats shift, and yeah, because I understand that if I do want anything to actually grow and become something, I'm gonna actually have to put time, effort, and money into it. I can't just be like, oh, well, whenever the streaming thing pops off. I had to actually make like actual steps towards it. So I understand how important it is. So yes, I'm definitely considering. Yeah.
You knew now in the 60s, you'd say being gay is wrong.
No, I don't think so. So,
you'd say being gay is not wrong.
I understand what you're saying. So, I think that the APA statement on whether or not being a trans person is an illness in and of itself, I think is consistent with how we define what an illness is in terms of like mental illness, and then how we deal with a mental illness. So to expand on that, if you are simply a trans person, you don't necessarily have any negative aspects of that influencing your life. So like, I think the big ones are usually like, are you able to maintain relationships? Are you able to work a job? Do you take care of yourself? Can you maintain a schedule? Like things like this to see if like it's...
Yeah, but when regular, I guess, I don't know if it's regular or layman's people, when layman people think about what does it mean to have a mental illness, all they think of is something wrong with your head. that's about as far as it goes. And not only that, and another thing I think is worse is actually, are you just different than other people? Which, being different than other people does not necessarily mean you have a brain issue. I wonder how many mental illnesses exist simply because, oh, well, their brain doesn't work like everyone else's. It doesn't mean they have a problem. It just means their brain is different. It doesn't mean they have a deficit or anything like that. I feel like you'd have to actually prove that. Now, if the only reason they have a deficit is because the society around them is built in such a way that it's so cookie cutter that anyone who doesn't fall neatly within those lines or within those boxes will have a harder time. I still don't know if you would call that a mental illness, personally.
Is this like an illness? Is this affecting you in a negative way? Now, going by those criteria, I don't know why homosexuality or gayness was ever considered a mental illness. I'd have to go back and look at why the AMA or the APA, I guess, did it, but yeah, that's all right.
I guess I think that we define mental illnesses
now that it's not on
the way the rest of us
screen.
don't like. And if you're acting in a way, so if say like
Okay.
narcissistic personality disorder.
God, I had
So
that.
you could be likable, you could be a bit of an asshole, you could be a supreme asshole, and then you can be, you know what, the people in your life are so horrified by you that I don't know any of them, I'm just your clinician, I'm going to diagnose you.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was just saying, because people perceive you in such a way that you must have a mental illness, regardless of the objective, if you actually do. That, yeah, he's saying the same
personality disorder. I'm saying that I can't stand you, they can't stand you, society dislikes you so much that we're going to slap the disorder label on you. And so I think it makes more sense if you go back to when gay people, the idea of your child being gay is like a life-ruining nightmare and you're ostracized from your community, then it makes more sense to use the mental illness label then. It's this kind of like tension between how you want to act and how other people want you to act. Just like exhibitionism. If you walk around naked now in public, you've got a disorder. But if you walk around in like a bikini top now here, you don't. But if you met a girl who isn't like some predominantly Muslim country where you're going to get killed for walking around in a bikini top and she's still doing it, then I think it's fair to slap her with the disorder label.
Yeah,
I think that this is. I think I can agree with this as like a second order removed from what we're talking about. So
I'm going to connect it.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll like. I don't fully agree, but I'll tentatively agree. And I'll see where we're going with it. Go for it.
It's not a trap.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a trap, but I say I agree now, and then you say something later that builds on this.
I'm not going to do that.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not trying to look at debate. I'm just saying like I'll agree because I'll see where we're going, but like I don't want to come back and disagree with this because I don't like something you say later. My main issue is I guess when you paraphrase it, it's like or when you summarize it, it's like we say things are disorders if you act in ways that people don't like. I don't think that's necessarily true. For instance, if you're an asshole, if you're just like a jerk to people, we don't necessarily call that a disorder.
I think if you're an asshole to a certain extent, we do.
I don't know if that's the case. Some people like really mean.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. But even, I don't know, because this is an older conversation. Back in 2022, Destiny talks often about how, like, people can't use there's always 0 to 100 language. Like, there are no more assholes in the world. They're actually abusive, or like stuff like that. Someone doesn't lack self-confidence. They actually have, like, I don't know, self-hate disorder or something like that. And it's like, to some extent, we do categorize people that do not, depending on how far on a spectrum you don't fall into society, we do call them crazy. We do say they have a mental illness. That is what people do.
They're just really mean people.
Well, if I come into your office and I say I'm divorced, and I started going to therapy right after I got divorced. So if I come in and I say I got divorced because my wife is a bitch, and then you say, okay, yeah, maybe she is, maybe you're mad, whatever. And then I say I lost my job because my boss is an asshole. And then I say I got kicked out of my apartment building because my neighbor is an asshole. I think eventually the gears start turning and you're like, okay, I think there's something wrong with you. Definitionally, if you can't maintain a job, you can't maintain your home, you can't maintain family connections, at a certain point you're going to say, well, listen, you've got a disorder. You need treatment. You need to change. And partly it's that you're saying these other people shouldn't have to change, or they don't want to change, or I don't think there's particularly anything wrong with them. And partly it's you saying they're not going to change. So even if you're right, lots of people are assholes, but you still, to be like a successful and moderately happy person, like functional person, you have to kind of learn to get along with them.
Yeah, I think this is getting closer to something that I generally would agree with, yeah.
Okay, so I think...
Wait, can I give one caveat and then we'll move on from there?
Yeah.
So the one caveat I would say is that, earlier you said something that I said that is true, that I think a diagnosis only should exist to yield a utility to it. So diagnosing somebody as something that we can't change or we can't help or whatever doesn't seem to be very valuable. So if there is a society, for instance, let's say theoretically, and I don't know if this 100% true, but let's say that your sexuality is like an immutable, unchangeable characteristic once you're like, let's say 10 years old. Like if you're gay, you're gay.
You can use it as an excuse. It's a pretty good reason. I have this mental problem, so because of that, I can't do this. There are other people who say, because I have this mental problem, I take this extra step to make sure to mitigate the harm of my mental issue. Let's all strive to be the second person.
if you're straight, and then boom. If there is like a society that is massively homophobic, but if like being gay is something that there is no treatment for, it seems pointless to change to diagnose that as an illness, and rather it seems like the society should probably move in a certain direction to be more accommodating to that person. But if there is something that is, well, I'll say either one is harmful to other people, or two, if it is something that can change, then we can diagnose that problem and say, well, we should try to change this because it's either something that could be changed and it's causing you a lot of friction in your life, or it's harmful to other people, even if it is something
back to
we can
drilling.
do something to contain it or treat it. So maybe I can't okay, go ahead.
I see what you're saying, but I think that most. Okay, I'll say there's not most. There's a lot of mental illnesses that are not treatable.
I'm going to try to be really clear with our language. When you say mental illness, are you referring specifically like personality disorders or
schizophrenia?
Okay, so fuck, I have to look it up. Just so I'm using language because some things are considered like I don't know if personality disorders are treatable, like they're manageable, but I don't know if you can change somebody's personality. Schizophrenia is treatable with medication, but sure, but go ahead.
My point is that even if it's not treatable or if it is treatable or whatever, I don't quite agree with you that that is the like hinging like factor that determines whether we label someone, even if whether it's treatable or not. I still think there's utility in labeling someone as this person's going to act this way, and we need to understand that. So like pedophilia. Someone's a pedophile. That I imagine there are people who have been cured, and I imagine there are people who won't and can't. And I think either way, it's worth, at least in the therapist's office, saying, "Hey, I've listened to you. I've gotten to know you for a while, and I think you're a pedophile. And here's what this means. Here's my advice to you going forward, and here's how I think you should manage this. And here's how I think we as a society should manage this." I think there is still a utility in labeling somebody, even if it's not treatable.
Okay, we'll get to that, I guess, in the conversation. Go for it. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't know if I necessarily disagree, but I guess we'll see where this comes out. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was so focused. What did you say?
There are people who won't and can't. And I think either way, it's worth, at least in the therapist's office, saying, "Hey, I've listened to you. I've gotten to know you for a while, and I think you're a pedophile. And here's what this means. Here's my advice to you going forward, and here's how I think you should manage this. And here's how I think we as a society should manage this." I think there is still a utility in labeling somebody, even if it's not treatable.
Okay, we'll get to that, I guess, in the conversation. Go for it. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't know if I necessarily disagree, but I guess we'll see where this comes out. Yeah.
Okay, and pedophilia is another good example of you're behaving in a way that the rest of us just really don't like, and it doesn't work, like societally, and so
to say you're really pushing the boundaries on what it is that we really don't like, because just like would it depend on, would it make a difference how reasonable it is that most people don't like it? Like let's say it's just like, oh, you have a red shirt on, and everyone thinks that you having that red shirt on is just like you're destroying society with that red shirt. Like that's gonna be different than, oh, you're a pedo. The rest of society finds you like a danger or a hindrance. Like that, it's like depending on what the issue is. I don't know if I can just make a blanket statement if the rest of society doesn't like it. I don't know about that one.
We need to slap a label on it. Whereas in the past, when the age of consent was like much lower in early teens, then I don't think it was considered a mental disorder. It was probably considered more of a like an asshole thing. Like that guy, like, you want to keep him away from your niece, he's a weirdo. So if you okay, so if you're gay and you live in one of those places where they kill you if you're gay, I guess I think that the idea that being gay is this immutable, your sexuality is this unchangeable core piece of your identity is not quite true. I think that is somewhat of a bulwark against the societal pressure that you're talking about. I think that narrative gets pushed for good reason to tell people, like, fuck off. Like, stop with the conversion therapy. Stop trying to make us conform. We don't want to. And then, in response, the rest of society has kind of said, okay, you know what? It's actually not that big of a deal. I don't hate that you're gay now. I don't hate that you are, you're not going to get married the way I want you to, or have kids the way I want you to, or whatever. And so then the tension is kind of diffused, and then it doesn't have to be labeled a mental illness. But I think telling people, and I think this is kind of what trans people are trying to do, and trans rights activists, is say, this is just happening. You can't change it. You can't affect it. It's just who they are. Just accept it, stop, let it go, and then try to defuse the tension on society's end.
Okay, I think I largely agree with that, yeah.
Okay. And so what I've come to in thinking about this and talking about it a lot is that I don't want to.
Fucking shit.
It's not transphobia, but it's like you're asking, maybe it is, but it's like you're asking me.
But is that transphobia? Is there? Because the question really, that question is like deeper than what most people would say. A lot of people just be like, I don't like, I mean, of course it's not transphobia. It's just the way normal people are. And you have other people who would be like, you can't even fathom even want to entertain the idea, it has to be because you're transphobic. And it's like, I wonder if it wasn't about trans people, like, would we have the same, like, let's say, and would it be for anything? Let's say that there was people that don't eat apples, but they just stick them up their ass or something. And it's like, hey man, some people just get their nutrients this way. Apples are really hard on their teeth, and suppositories are the way that some people eat food. And even though that's like less than 1% of the population, it's just they can't eat like the rest of us. I don't know how much would it be like. Like that seems. If someone said that seems weird, would that be seen as, I don't know, suppository phobic? Because these people, like, they can't change that about them. It's like, would that become part of their identity? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
Me to change the way gay people asked people to change, like, we'll just change your idea of what a normal life is. Change your idea of what a family is. Change your ideas about religion and sin and whatever until they make room for us. And like, I think probably people were like, well, yeah, I'm not actually that attached to those ideas. I don't really care as much as I thought I did, or as much as my grandparents did. And, you know, they're dead, so fuck it. Yeah, being gay is fine. It's not a sin. Whatever. And like, when you see Christians ask about this, they're like, yeah, it's fine. I don't care. It's not my place to judge. I don't know. And like, and just completely abandon like Christianity's kind of earlier core stance of like what you're supposed to do as a Christian. They're just like, wait, it's fine. Because they just don't care. But I do. About this one, I do care. It bothers me. And on top of that, I don't think it's the same.
See, I feel like the biggest mistake, and I feel like this is where most movements like fail, is I understand that, and it is an important battle to fight. A lot of people would stake their lives on the line to make cultural and societal pushes like this. But there's you gotta, like, in the same way back during the civil rights movement, they knew that if they fought back against police, if they started doing crazy shit, they would lose the sentiment of the people. There's no like caution to lose sentiment. And when it comes to like progressive movements, I've noticed there's no like, well, we need to meet people where they are. It's like, if you don't fuck with this, you're disgusting. And then like, that's it. And it's just like, no one has ever convinced anyone like that. No one has ever bridged the gap like that at all. Back when like the mid 2000s, like early 2000s and early 2010s, when you had gay people, a lot of them was just like, hey, I love this person just like you love that person. Who was the government to attack not attack conservatives, but to have a more conservative route to argue that? Who was the government to tell me who the fuck I can and can't marry? We're two consenting adults that love each other. Why can the government tell me who I can't marry? I thought y'all were for weaker government. I thought y'all didn't want government. I thought y'all wanted government in less places and less interference from government. Is it only when you agree with it that you want them to intervene? Like that sort of thing. And liberals will most likely agree, hey, you know, you're not hurting me by getting married, who gives a fuck? But, yeah.
I think we're capitulating to trans people. I don't think that trans
almost
people
done drilling.
Need to be told yes all the time. And I don't think that's good for them. I don't think it's good for society. And I think my problem kind of overall with liberals lately is that they have a really hard time saying no. And I kind of think of it the same way I think of Black Lives Matter, where
okay.
I went to a Black Lives Matter protest, which felt more like an Antifa protest, based just like on the dress and the demographics of the people there, but like no one self-identifies as Antifa, or no one I talked to would. They also there with Black Lives Matter.
That is weird though, that you'll see a lot of that, and a lot of like Black Lives Matter. Honestly, no, now that I think about it, it's not weird at all. Black people tend to, as far as like over the whole United States, there's only certain areas where they are. So it's just like, oh, well, we're in the middle of Montana or something. It's just like, yeah, you're probably gonna see nothing but white people. Yeah, like if there's a Black Lives Matter protest in Montana, you're probably gonna see nothing but white. Is it really that surprising? Now, here's the question. If you were in Baltimore, DC, Chicago, Detroit, New York, like if you were in areas where there were more, like a higher percentage of the population being black people, then do you see like only white people at Black Lives Matter protests? I don't know. But if that is the case, wouldn't that be a great counter argument? Like, has no one thought about that?
And they're chanting Black Lives Matter, and then they started chanting Trans Lives Matter. In the middle of like their chant, they were like marching to a police station, and I kept looking at the black people there, being like, what do you think of this? What are you thinking when the crowd starts chanting Trans Lives Matter in the middle of this? I'm like, why? I just feel like nobody puts their foot down and says like, hey, your protests are good, but stop rioting. And with trans people, like, yeah, put on a dress and change your name and ask people to talk about you differently. I think that's all fine. Like, live the way you want to live, but once it starts to feel oppressive to other people, I think you have to understand that there has to be a point where other people have to say no. I think conservatives are a bit too harsh and unkind in the way they say no, which I definitely picked up on in like the debate I listened to, but I think liberals are way too permissive.
Okay.
Possibly including you.
I'm gonna try to re-summarize everything you just said. You tell me if you feel like it's an accurate summation of what you said, okay?
Okay.
So, you feel like sometimes when it comes to social progress, the left will kind of push on things and basically ask for the other side to capitulate, to give in. It's like, okay, that's okay. And you think that over time, it's happened on some topics. So like homosexuality, they don't really care that much, or they didn't care as much as their grandparents, so they're like, okay, fine, this is fine. But you feel like at some point it flies off the rails a little bit too much, and you're getting to a point where it's like, okay, well, the sky is green, and you need to acknowledge that. And at some point you're like, okay, well, hold on, it's going too far now, and I feel like we need to ground ourselves a little bit better, or this is something I'm not willing to concede to. And you're drawing your line somewhere around this trans issue, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so I guess that splits it up into two things, which is like one is that I want people to be able to say no gracefully without getting canceled, and I think you agree with that. Just to be allowed to be like, you know what, I don't want to go along with this. I don't like.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when a lot of people think about like authoritarianism, can spring up. It just springs up from extremes. It doesn't necessarily need to be far right to be. It could, or it really depends on how you define far right or far left. But I would say any system or any culture that tries to diminish people from speaking out against something that they feel uncomfortable about. Any movement that says, no, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear about how uncomfortable you are. Don't give me your opinion. It's just like, if this is like a minority, like a 0.010001% of people who's like, I think we should be able to take burning bags of shit and throw them on people's houses. It's just like, they should still have a right to say that, but naturally everyone would clown them. But if you have like 50-60% of the people, even like, it doesn't even have to be that much. If you have like 25% of your people, just that amount, 20-25% saying, hey, I'm really uncomfortable with this. It's like all the progressive like ideas of a minority is speaking. This is a minority opinion. We need to listen to them. That will go out the door if they think there's a bigger picture involved. So it's just like it makes conservatives look at y'all and say, well, how much do y'all actually give a damn about y'all principles? When it came to something like you really wanted this change to come about, and then now when there's a minority opinion, you don't care about that. That minority opinion is just transphobic or racist or sexist. Like now it's just like, fuck the minority opinion. Then I don't care. And just like I thought y'all whole platform was to give a fuck about the minority opinion.
Like it, and I don't. I'm not going to participate. And then the other is like, are they right? Am I right to want to say no, specifically about trans people? I also don't want to say that I don't think society has to change. I think that we treat people really badly based on their gender. I think we body shame people. I think we do a lot of things to children that are causing them to have gender dysphoria, and that we should stop doing that. So I'm not saying that society doesn't need to change. I just don't think it needs to change in the sense of, okay, trans women are women. We're going to stop you. We're going to start say pregnant people instead of pregnant women because we don't want to upset trans people. We're going to start saying that sex is non-binary, and
that is also another thing. I don't know the right answer to this. You have I guess like it would less set like, damn. Sorry, I'm pausing the video a lot. I'll let it. There's a thing in society where like there is like, we want to adjust society for a smaller percentage of people that are dealing with a certain thing that the rest of us don't have to deal with. And it's not fair for us to be like, well, nope, we just shut the fuck up, don't have an opinion, live the rest of the world is like this. The rest of us are normal. So just shut up, conform, understand where you are, and live with it. And excuse me. Fuck. I forgot what I was saying. The sneeze fucked me up. But yeah, fuck it. I don't care. Fuck it. I forgot.
It's a spectrum, and those I see as capitulation out of fear of the mob rather than progress that's actually going to help anybody.
Okay. So I think as we go further into this, I'm probably not going to agree with any of your broader
ice cream
statements
card.
here.
Yes.
I think the area of disagreement is probably going to be in the particulars of like, where do we draw the line? It's probably and then we can go over like, how do we feel like we draw these lines, or where do we figure we draw these lines, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to take it up there, I guess, or?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So, for hypothetical sake, if I follow your argument, if I said that I agree, theoretically at one point, I'm going to broadly say the left and the right. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The left is going to say something like brick and plastic are the same thing, and you have to agree with that. And at some point, I'm going to be like, okay,
sure, I'll take them all.
This is too much.
I'll take everything.
Right? There's going to be some line.
Just dropping cream.
Or actually, I can use a real world
I'll just take it.
I don't know if you've ever heard of like neo-pronouns or like the 50 million other like autism, gender, and stuff like that. That's me. Like my line is there. I just don't. Yeah, I'm not in favor of that.
Okay, so you agree with it? You agree that there's a dynamic of the left.
Okay, yeah, I'll take everything. Yeah, give me all that.
Moving further.
I'll take everything.
And that it is not.
I'll take everything.
It is not
yeah,
dictated
give
by
me all
science
that.
or logic. It is dictated by. I'm not sure what's pushing it, but
I think it uses science and logic as like a springboard, and then it kind of jumps off into other things. Yeah. So,
but that's not the engine.
That person.
No, yeah, I agree with that. So I think the problem.
That person is just like dropping items. It's like I keep all these items to sell them to other people, man. There's so much money in this game to just like sell quest items to people. If you want to give me all your quest items, give them to me. I flip them. I'm flipping like a damn patty. I flip them. Goddamn straight.
The problem of what's happened is, this isn't even related to this topic really, but I think the problem that's happened is that as we become more and more polarized as a society, the problem isn't that the left has gotten more left and the right has gotten more right. I think the problem is that there is no more conversation that happens between these two sides. And in my opinion, this is going to sound like an Omega fence sitter take, but I think that the best positions that you can find are usually, they usually resolve or result from tension from both sides. That some natural tension there. Have you ever played a game called Eve?
No.
Okay.
But I know what it is.
I learned this while running a really big corporation in that game, that if I ever want to have somebody that advocates for something, even if I agree with them, I always want somebody advocating on the other end. I always want somebody pushing on the other end, because there might be something that I'm overlooking, like this might be a good idea, but maybe there are a couple things we should keep in mind, or maybe there's like a reason why we should do it a little bit differently. That natural tension is really important. And as soon as that tension disappears, it's like a rubber band that snaps. It's not that it disappears and then this side gets more extreme, it's that it disappears and this side is gone. Into like, we went from arguing like trans people are real because we can look at scans in the brain and we can see a difference, to now you can identify as wall gender, and that's actually legitimate identification because all self-ID is valid and you can be anything you want to be, and anybody that tells you you're trans, what the fuck?
Right.
I agree that
is something that the left has to work. I feel like you feed into the flames of like when far right people or conservatives say something like, it's just postmodern neo-Marxist. I feel like if you really want to engage with the idea, if you're someone on the right, if you're conservative, right-leaning, conservative-leaning, whatever the case, Republican, I don't give a damn. Traditional, like something you need to like think about is when you like imagine a toaster. Why do people take a toaster, break it apart, like completely take it apart, look at all its pieces, and then put it back together? It's because there's something to glean from when we take a construct, break it completely down, look at all the pieces, analyze them all, and then put it back together. We're able to be like, okay, and like synthesize it. We're able to be like, okay, the reason this works is because of this. It's not just as a toaster. There's a spring that shoots up for when your toast is done, and the spring to like hold in place so that your toast stays in place while it's cooking. There's these little heated coiled wires in the middle that heat up the bread evenly. Like you notice it's not just a toaster at that point. You start to realize every point or every like detail for why the toaster works. And if you can discover that, you can keep all the reasons why the toaster works and then get rid of all the baggage, all the shit that doesn't work. That's the point of postmodernism. Let's analyze the traditions and structures that we have in society, and then after we do that, we can determine, okay, how do we take these things and work it out and like keep the best parts and get rid of the bad. Like, take the benefits and mitigate the harms. That's what it is. Why not do that? But other people just like the idea of even like deconstructing and reevaluating and analyzing, like that is just like, well, you must hate society then. It's just like your brain can't comprehend why that would be even good to even do, or why that would be like a valuable journey or path to proceed or investigate. Like you can't even do it. Like the idea of even questioning the tradition is enough for your brain to fall out.
Happens. The problems that I have, though, is that as much as I will rally against kind of the left for how insanely off they've gone, I can't really look to the right for good answers, because on that side, they seem to reject the science related to trans people. That there is like this, I wish I could remember it, some
another ice cream card. Come
measure these
on.
parts, and in trans women, so men who identify as women, they will have like these parts in the brain that resemble that of cisgender women, where it's like, holy shit, there's like, you're actually getting brain structures that are matching. Now, whether that's due to biology and genetics, or whether that's due to some early formative experience, it's hard to say. We don't know that.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's hard to say what that means.
For
like
sure.
If you, so in my video about this, I looked at similar articles that have been written about the brains of criminals have similar structures, the brains of artists have similar structures. So if you get a bunch of people who are acting similarly, and trans women often do act like women, it's a bit tautological to say they act similarly and their brains are similar.
Wrong attack. I just performed for no reason.
They have artist brains, or they have criminal brains,
I
or
love
they have
that
woman
attack.
brains. That doesn't
Pushes
necessarily
people away.
mean that.
Well, it could mean that, but we don't necessarily know why they are that way. Maybe, or maybe you're saying that you could find other brains that fit a similar profile, but they don't have those characteristics.
Yeah, I guess I'm saying the framing is the problem is in the framing of where, like, when they looked at the brains of criminals, they didn't say we're trying to identify who has a crime brain, and so these criminals have similar structures. Those are crime brains. So now anyone who has a brain with that structure
probably
also has a
looking
crime
for
brain.
grass.
That framing would be weird, but we accept it more when we're saying, oh, we're looking for female brains, because we just accept that there is a thing that is like a female brain
Ice
beyond
cream
a brain,
cards.
literally, that is has XX chromosomes.
This game, for every monster that you fight, like, let's just use these ones that I'm fighting as an example. We've been fighting Ice Cream this whole time. The actual monster's name is Ice Cream, yes. Oh, this is a Yeti. You see this Yeti right here? Alright. So every monster in this game has a card. And the cards are interesting because now this is a Yeti right here. You can pull up what they look like from the point of view of your character. The other giant pink thing was an ice cream card. Was ice cream? Is an ice cream card. That's what they look like up close. It's just interesting. This game, like, there's more details on what the monsters look like on the actual like monster card. Like, even look at this polar bear. Do I have a yeah? I have polar bear cards. That's what it looks like up close. It's still the same monster that's like right here, but it's like more detail. Which is some aspect of this game I like.
Except in the formulation of the question that there is such a thing. But if you switch it to a different topic, it becomes more obvious that the labeling in itself is where, like, the leap is being made.
I mean, possibly, but I mean, we can agree that, like, you would agree that there are female bodies, I imagine, right, and male bodies?
Oh yeah.
So there can probably, it's not a huge jump to say that there were probably female brains and male brains, right?
Well, I would say that the brain is part of the body.
Of course.
I don't differentiate between the brain and the body. This is another problem.
Well, what I'm saying is that, like, externally there are clearly male bodies and female bodies. So internally there are probably also clearly male bodies and female bodies. Whether we're talking about, yeah.
I think this is a bunch of horse shit.
Wait, which part?
I mean, all of it. You know why? Because if you saw a trans person, a trans woman, and they're like, I'm a woman, but in a male body, and their brain was identical to Arnold Schwarzenegger's brain, the most male brain that we have, you wouldn't say, well, no, actually, according to your brain scan, you're not trans. So I don't think it actually.
That's true. That's true. If you're someone that says like this is more like the self-ID people. I don't need a biological thing. I don't need any underlying mechanism. If I say I'm this way, there's more than just my brain perceives this. It's like if you think there's a difference between your brain and your mind, I think there's overlap there, but I don't know. I don't think your mind is the thing that makes your heart beat. You know what I'm saying? I feel like your mind is more like a feedback loop that the human brain has, to where we're able to recognize our own thoughts and what we're thinking and stuff like that. I don't know, like, personally, I don't think the brain and you can't have a mind without a brain, but you can have a brain without a mind, I think.
Really matters. That, again, this just feels like
Sure. So I'm
feels
not.
like the end.
I understand. I know exactly what you're gonna say. Okay, so I don't know what you've heard about me, or if you've only seen my one argument, you might think that I'm a certain way. So this conversation might be very not as much fun for you. I'm not going to be like as crazy far left as 99% of people that talk about this are. So
no, that's why I want to talk to you. I know this.
So
I know this about you.
I will tell you that what you're saying is true, and I will say a controversial and canceled statement that there probably are some trans people that aren't trans. They're probably confused or they have other issues and they don't realize it. Just playing a numbers game, there must be. And I will also say
they aren't straight.
sure,
gay people
for sure.
There's been you can't decide what you are.
Yeah, and I'll also say there probably would be some people that if you showed them, let's say there was a 100% conclusive, this is what a trans brain looks like, that there would be a large section of people on the left that would say, well, just because they don't have a trans brain doesn't mean they can't be trans. If they want to self-ID some way, they can.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I'll make all those concessions to you, but let me just, on the end of this, I'll make all those concessions, but on the end of this, unfortunately, it's not really possible to, it's a good thought experiment. It's not really possible in the real world to attack somebody on this front because we don't usually scan people's brains till they're dead. Like we can't like cut them open to see for
Yeah, I don't want to attack anybody. I'm just saying, I'm making a point that the engine of progress, science is a thing they put on the front of it that makes it break through shit more easily. But if you take the thing off, it'll keep going. It doesn't matter. And so this is what I'm saying, like I'm not like a psychologist. I have a degree in psychology and I've looked at a lot of studies enough so that I can look at the stuff you're talking about and say this doesn't make sense to me, at least. I can't objectively say it doesn't make sense. But it doesn't make sense to me for this reason, in that if hypothetically we
You see that humility? You see that little bit of humility makes the conversation better. I can't say this is objectively wrong. I can only say it doesn't make sense to me. If more people can have conversations like that, bro.
We know that if we take a trans person who every other measurement they're trans, and then say, oh, but actually your brain does match your body physically. That's not going to make them think they're not trans. It's not going to make their therapist think they're not trans. And it's not going to make liberals think they're not trans. So effectively, it doesn't really matter. Like it's some evidence, but it just feels like that's not the point, and that's not what they care about.
Yeah, so there are two separate conversations here, and I enjoyed both of them, and we can have either one you want. But the first one is kind of like the fact of the matter about trans people. Are they real, or how should you treat them? And the
I don't
other
think we should
one,
talk about that.
Sure, it's an interesting conversation. But the second one is kind of the meta-narrative around trans people, or I guess we should say the narrative around trans people, which is if scientific evidence were to come out to the contrary about some of our ideas related to trans people, would people on the left be accepting of that scientific information? I would probably largely agree with you that the answer would probably be no. That would be my
And I'll even go as far as to say that if scientific evidence comes out in support of the left's narrative of trans people, it would not affect my narrative. So I don't know.
Wait, why not? What do you mean by that? Which part of your narrative?
That a male brain. Okay, my narrative is a male brain is a brain that's in a male body. There is no. To me, this is fundamentally religious.
A male brain is a brain that's in a male body.
I believe that you are your body. You're no one's in the wrong body. And we're all on.
No one's. I could get behind that, but I feel like the society that we live in is like people. I don't know how much people need things to be separated into groups. People need categories to make sense of the world. They can't fathom that it's just all human beings. They need to separate. I think I'd probably be more accepting. There'll probably be things that I need to work on, but I feel like I could be more accepting that they're just human beings in the world and everyone express themselves differently. I feel like I could wrap my head around that easily, but
uncomfortable in our bodies. No one likes being in their body. It's a death sentence.
Oh, okay,
well,
that's like
you do now, but at some point you won't like being in your body.
Sure, like when I'm playing League of Legends, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, as you get older, or things go wrong, or you get diseases, or you break things, or things get cut off, or whatever, you'll start to feel like, oh, this isn't really me. And I think that kind of dysmorphia is a universal experience that everybody has. Everybody pictures themselves slightly different from how they actually are, and then trans people picture themselves very differently from how they actually are. But I don't see that as a particularly unique experience.
So something I'm curious about, are you familiar with the term intersex?
Yes.
How do you view these people then? Are they just both, or
they're neither? Yeah, they're intersex. So yeah, there's another problem I have. Everybody has to be male or female, and I'm like, no, a lot of people are neither.
Well, but I mean, like, there's still the binary. It's not like intersex people have like genitals that are like alien genitals or something, right? Like, there's still somewhere on that. They're sexually dimorphic. They're still on that male to female.
Yeah, they're somewhere in between. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm trying to epistemically.
Trans people aren't saying. A trans woman does not say like, "Hey, I know I'm supposed to be a man, but I think I'm a little female." They say, "I am 100% female. I am just as female as whoever, as any woman." So I don't see how intersex. I see you're trying to get at like finding the like rough edges of my sharp definitions, but I don't think that it's in terms of trans people and the narrative about them. That is not part of it. There's liberals.
The thing is, this is a conversation I had with an ex that I have, and it was a really good conversation about like what makes a man and what makes a woman. And the thing is, the sad reality is it's components at the end of the day. It's literally like imagine like this. Oh, you have a higher, and any of these individually would not be enough. Most of these individually, let me say, would not be enough to determine whether somebody's a man or a woman. Let's say you have taller versus shorter, because women tend to be shorter than men. So have muscular versus not muscular, because women tend to have less muscle in their body than men do. Gentle and caretaking versus kind of like standoffish or not emotionally available. Women tend to dominate that more than men. So it's kind of like each of these individual things does not make you a man or a woman, but the way the society works, if enough of them pile up, then that's the way we view it. It's just that most people tend to have that pile readily seen. Like you'll be like, oh, okay, looking at this person, they got these physical features. Their face looks like this, their hair is like this, their clothes are like this, the way they speak is like that. Like you all like encompassed in a package when you meet a person. And because the overwhelming majority of people are not trans, like that's gonna be a super difficult uphill battle. It just is.
They're not saying trans women are a little bit more female. They're saying they're women.
Sure. Well, that gets into a different area. So I just want to focus on this. So,
Okay.
let's say I'm just curious. I'll lay big hypotheticals here. Let's say that hypothetically we discovered there was a region of the brain and it literally has like an M or an F printed on it. This is like deep inside your pituitary gland. I don't know. It's in there. Okay. And they find this and then they start running tests on dead trans people and they start seeing, oh my God, like 99% of trans women have the F stamp in their brain, even though they were born with a penis and all that. And trans men all have the M stamp, even though they were born with vaginas and ovaries and all that. Yeah. At that point, would you stop and be like, okay, maybe like female brains that expect female bodies can be born into male bodies? Or how do you view that? What does that look like in your understanding of the world, I guess?
Okay, so you're saying 100% correlation and it is literally labeled.
Or like a 99%. But basically, we've absolutely determined there's some part in the brain that determines what you feel like your sex should be. Yeah.
I don't.
Were you about to say you don't think that any part of your brain determines like
no,
how
I don't.
sex?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But you're asking me to accept it as a hypothetical. So my last question is, have we determined that this is a brain scan from birth? We're scanning babies, and then after they die, we see they were trans throughout their whole life. But the baby's brain, it was always there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say like that's a scientific fact. Do you still accept it under the basis of science, or is there like some?
No, that'd be pretty compelling. I have to say that's a.
Okay, I'm just curious. You mentioned the religion thing, so I don't know how.
So you see that? Yeah, if we could actually 100% prove that these brains are different, and there's 100% correlation with, like, yeah. There are a lot of people who still wouldn't care. I don't care what proof you have. I don't care about 100% correlation. It's wrong because it's wrong. It's like, well, what's your definition of wrong, my guy? It's wrong because it's wrong. That's unsatisfactory. It's dishonest. It's absolutely dishonest. But okay. You got a little bit of crazy drilling going on. Yeah, all my portable ACs. Now we're just like chilling at this point. Okay, awesome.
Like epistemically, you're valuing like faith-based arguments more so than like some sort of like falsifiable scientific arguments. I'm just curious on that. Or a long ways from what I just said. I understand that's not like the world we live in today. We don't have that information, of course.
Yes.
Right?
So if we had that, then I would say I was wrong.
Sure. Okay.
That's pretty strong evidence. But yeah, the reason I'm saying it's religious is the idea of being in the body.
Gotcha. Okay. So then I guess what we're basically at is you and I both exist in a world where, if we're being intellectually honest, neither of us has the answer 100%. I can't tell you, like, well, trans people are, of course, real and scientifically and biologically, like, immutable, unchangeable, like this and that. And then, if you're being honest, I don't think you can say, oh, well, for sure, there's no such thing as a trans person. They just need to be, like, changed a little bit when they're a child.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
You're pretty sure?
I feel very sure.
So how...
I don't have... Well, I can't prove that it's not there. I can't prove that there is no M or F stamp, but I'm sure.
So then my question is going to be... So I believe that external validation is really important. Like, I need to be able to...
I talked to my girlfriend about taking testosterone when we first met.
Okay. Yeah, were we going somewhere with that?
Yeah, she said I'm thinking of starting a low dose of testosterone. I'm non-binary. I want you to use this nickname for me. I want you to use... Oh, this is her on my shirt. I want you to use they, them pronouns. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that shit. I said, you hate women. And that's fine. But don't expect me to participate in your self-hating misogyny. You can hate yourself. You can hate your body. I feel like, maybe you haven't had the kind of like freedom to do that. It's okay. You can hate your body. We can still date. You can hate your body.
That is another... MrGirl brings up a thing that is true about people. It's like they don't There's no, we don't have room for people to have negative emotions about themselves. Like, do we really? Like, we understand that we can give negative emotions, we can insult people, but it's like like when we look at someone, no, don't feel that way about yourself. Don't feel that way at all. And it's kind of like, it can be patronizing to some people when you say stuff like that, because like you're not communicating to them in a way that they understand. So
You can hate it every single time I say your name, but don't take testosterone. And I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to call you by your masculine nickname, and I'm not going to call you your girl. And she was like, I want to be referred to as your partner, not your girlfriend. This was like maybe 2 weeks after we started dating. And I was like, no, I don't want a partner. I want a girlfriend. You're my girlfriend. I'm not doing this.
Okay. So I understand the story, but I don't know if I can go, or what, so are you trying to say that like by doing this, you think you talk somebody out of being trans, so they weren't really trans, so you're kind of like extrapolating this to trans people in general, or?
Yeah, I guess I'm saying in my experience is that you can talk people out of being trans by making room for them as they are.
Do you think that it might be possible that, and I will concede, I'll say that there probably are some people that think they're trans, but they're having a different type of experience they haven't identified yet, but there might also be some people that are trans that there is no other experience, like they're never going to feel comfortable with their sex or gender? Do you think that's possible?
I don't know.
No, because I think that's kind of a definitional thing. Like, if someone is never, you don't have to be comfortable with your body. Like, I don't think that means that you should be in another body. I think it just means you hate your body. And like hating your body is pretty normal. Lots of people hate their body. I think of trans people the same way I think of like women who get breast implants. They feel that their boobs just should be bigger, and so they go make them bigger, and then they either feel better or they don't feel better. But there's no word for it though, and like I don't think we need a word for this as like an identity. It's not an identity to want your boobs to be bigger. You just want them.
Do you think?
Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say giving it a word and a name. It just protects it. It's like I just see a trans person as someone who walks into a therapist's office and says, "Doc, I want to be a girl," and they have figured out. And this is understandable. I don't blame trans people for any of this. How to get more and more people to say that they are the gender they want to be said that they are. Give them what they want, which is hormones and surgery and acceptance. And I think they should have acceptance. I don't agree with giving trans people hormones and surgery. And it's just like no one will say no.
Do you think that it's possible? Or here's a question: do you think that there's any like internal experience of being a gender? Or maybe a more personal question.
The thing is, I don't know what that's like. My brain can't even like. I haven't been living in this world long. I'm only 28. But it's just like, I can't imagine what it's like to like view myself, like to not have like that underlying knowing that I'm a man, knowing that the world sees me as a man, and like the accumulation of the experience from a point of view of a man. Like I don't know how to separate that. I don't know how much of my thought process is combined with that or like ingrained in. Like I don't know if I'll be able to separate it. That's the weird thing.
Like if you were to wake up tomorrow as a woman with boobs and vagina and you had a woman's body, whatever, would you be like okay with that, or?
I'd be okay with it, but I'm a freak, so I don't think that.
Do you think a lot of people have internal experiences related to their agenda? Did I say agenda? Or I mean gender. I don't know what I said. I saw you checking on your water. I got distracted.
Agenda. I'm gonna choke for another second. So say it again.
Go for it. Do you think that people have an internal experience of a gender that's like unique from your other, like, oh, like I'm a gamer, I'm an American, blah blah blah. Do you think people have an experience like I am a man or I'm a woman, and that's a strong internal experience that I have?
Yeah, but I think it's all socialized mostly. Like the experience of being a woman in Beverly Hills is very different from the experience of being a woman in like Afghanistan.
Sure.
But to the point where they're calling them the same gender, it almost doesn't even make sense.
Do you think that even if the experience is...
I feel like it depends on like if you are not individualizing, I don't even know if that's a word, but if you're comparing like if you're comparing on that level of how were women treated and what is the woman's role across different societies versus is there a man role and is there a woman role across societies regardless of the society. I guess like gender would be, yeah, gender is like a lot focused on the society you live in, so.
It's socialized. It's still a pretty real and powerful thing, right?
Yeah. I think your gender is your experience of how you and others perceive the sexuality of your body. Mm-hmm. So yeah, even if it's socialized, it's still very powerful and
so
real to an extent.
You said something earlier that I kind of agree with a little bit. It's a little controversial, but like I'm willing to bet that there are at least parts of our sexual orientations that are
they're not picking up the grass.
If I had to be gay, I could be gay.
Okay.
If you're gonna put a gun to my head, say you're gonna kill me if I.
Well, but to be clear, there's a difference.
Woman,
well, hold on, wait. To be clear, there's a big difference between like having sex to save your life versus a genuine attraction to the male body, right?
I don't know.
Okay, well here, let me. Okay, wait, that was a rhetorical. Absolutely is, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sure. Okay. Well, let me explain then. If you see, or I'm assuming actually, and I could be wrong. If any of these don't match up with your experience, it's fine. But if you see certain things of a female body, there's like an innate sexual attraction to that. Like nice boobies, nice booties. Like these are things that as a male, typically you see it, you're like, wow, I'm getting horny because I'm seeing things that are like, wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that versus like,
Go on.
if you're gonna make me fuck a woman, I can do it. Versus like just seeing.
But don't you sometimes feel like that?
Sure, but it's a different kind of thing. It's a different thing.
But sometimes I can just,
Yeah, but like there's still like a difference between I am innately sexually excited by this particular trait versus like
that difference has eroded for me as time has gone on. I remember being like 12 and people being like, Keanu Reeves is very handsome, and me being like, I don't even know what you mean. I can't tell the difference between a handsome man and a non-handsome man. I don't know why people are like really like Pierce Brosnan is attractive, or Sean Connery. That was really confusing. When people were like Sean Connery, he was the best Bond because he was so sexy. And I was like, how is Sean Connery sexy? I don't understand. That's confusing to me. And then like as I went through my teens, I was like, oh yeah, I would go down on Keanu Reeves. I didn't know that about myself. But the more I've thought about it, the more it's like I get it now. Okay, so I've definitely become gayer as exposure to like other people's sense of who's attractive. It definitely made me gayer.
Okay. So we believe that we can socialize, or you believe that you can socialize like a sexual attraction, right? Which I think I can kind of agree with.
Okay,
but like
Easier to socialize into existence than out of existence.
Yeah, possibly, yeah, sure. So we can agree that we can socialize it, but I'm trying to get
so
us on the
just
same ground
killing
to acknowledge that there is some underlying real thing that's happening there. It's not like a sexual attraction is like any arbitrary, like, oh, tomorrow I'm just going to be sexually attracted to a woman's forehead. There's a difference between like these sexual body parts that have either been socialized to find sexual, or like things that are just innately, like booties and boobies seem to be attractive to the universe of men, right?
Yeah, well, whatever it is, it's big and requires a lot of inertia to move it if it's movable at all.
Sure. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, like, if we can have like these innate feelings that leave us attracted to what I would say are secondary sexual characteristics. So the things that our bodies tend to develop when we're in puberty. If we can have like an innate attraction to these things, could we not also have? And when I say innate, I don't mean like unchangeable gender. I just mean innate. Like, it's a very deeply, very huge part of us. Yeah.
Wrong, yeah.
If we can have those kind of innate experiences, could we not also have an innate like experience of our gender that's also equally like very difficult to move, or maybe even impossible at a certain point in life?
Like an innate attachment to having those body parts rather than being attracted to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think if it were easy to move, if we could talk trans people out of being trans, we would just do it.
Or it would have been done by now, or even.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
Except I think I have done it. So I'm going to say, if we could easily, do it, I might just be good at it. I don't know.
Do you think there's a possibility that the person that you talked out of it might not have actually been having a trans experience, but we're just a little bit like confused about like their gender and everything?
No. I think that's tautological. You're saying if someone can be talked out of being trans, then they weren't really trans. So then we're defining trans as you can't be talked out of it. And then I'm like, okay, if that's your definition of trans, then there's no point in trying to treat trans people in that way, where not conversion therapy, but like.
So I don't necessarily think it's tautological. So let's say that I've got a guy on the ground and he's in extreme pain, and I'm like, sir, you need to get up, we need to move. And he's like, I can't, my pelvis is broken. And I'm like, listen to me, look at me, okay? You're gonna get up, you're gonna start walking, okay? We're gonna get out of this burning building, okay? Now either one, his pelvis is broken, in which case he's never standing up. Or two, he just has like a bad tear or a bruise or muscle is hurting, and he does get up and he walks away. Just because I was able to say, okay, this guy didn't actually have a broken pelvis, doesn't mean that broken pelvises aren't real. It just means that for some people, you know, maybe you can talk them through some pain because something isn't actually broken or fractured or destroyed. So I wouldn't say that's tautological that a person that you can talk out of being trans, like, oh, well, you're just saying that every person you talk out of being trans was ever trans, so you're kind of like
that's not the part that's tautological. If the pelvis is broken, it's broken, and the person with a broken pelvis can't walk.
Yeah.
That's the tautological part, where you're saying that being trans is the same as having a broken pelvis, and accepting your body to some functional degree is the same as walking. And I'm saying that's what we're arguing about. That's our central disagreement. Is that I don't agree with that. I agree a person with a broken pelvis can't walk. I don't agree that someone who is trans can't desist.
Yeah, I guess so I guess maybe we have to build out this a little more. So I'm working on a lot of like how would I say this? If somebody comes up to me and they say like, hey, I got a way to make a quick, easy $1 million, I'm instantly skeptical for like a million different reasons. Okay, well, if you knew how to do this, you'd already be doing it. Why are you coming to me? What are the chances I'm the first person you report? Like, it doesn't sound real to me, right? I try to like, where are the motivations at? So for trans people, I see that these people have a very high rate of suicide compared to the normal society, and I see that even the ones that are suicidal tend to be fucking miserable in a lot of different ways. They have a huge problem integrating in society, they have huge problems with themselves, it's also often paired with other mental illnesses, like not good. So if it was possible that a conversation or two or three could talk a person out of being trans, it seems so much more likely that the trans community would have like discovered this rather than not.
Trans people don't want to stop being trans.
Do you really think that's the case?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
For the most part.
He answered immediately.
I guess the definition.
Yes.
I think being trans is a extremely overwhelming desire to become the opposite sex.
Okay, I'm gonna use another analogy that I know is on. Or I'm not using an analogy. Okay, so you have you said a background in psychology. Have you ever heard of gay people expressing a desire to be straight? Are you familiar with this like concept?
I mean, I
So-
understand the concept.
Well, yeah, so well, basically what it is you have a child that starts to go through puberty, and he's starting to notice that he's having an attraction, secondary sexual characteristics of the same sex, and it is a very othery feeling because it's not what your peers are talking about. You know your family's not going to be okay with it, and your friends are going to probably ostracize you as well. So rather than like saying that like, oh, I love being gay, it's awesome, I want to be gay, I want to have sex with men, the prevailing thought is like, fuck, I wish I was just normal, I hate that I'm having these feelings. Could that not be possible with trans people?
Or pedophilia.
I'm sure pedophilia could be another example as well, sure.
But the difference is that being trans is an overwhelming desire to become.
Well,
It is-
oh, wait,
it's
an overwhelming desire
inherent
for what to become?
To become a woman or to become a man.
Yeah, but I think the
There's a
distinction. So this is kind of, this might be the circle of disagreement. It's not to become a woman or a man. It's to make your body match what you think you already are. Because a trans person, my understanding is.
Oh, I know what their narrative. I know the narrative of a trans person is that you believe that you already are. If I'm trans, I believe I'm already a woman, and I want to make my body match my internal experience or my brain. I understand that is the trans person's definition of being trans, but I reject that definition.
Okay,
I
well,
think
that's kind of like that's where our disagreement is then, right? Because if I accept your rejection of that definition from there, then everything you're saying is almost deductively necessarily true, right?
yes, exactly. So if you would just do that, this would be a lot easier.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So if you
yeah.
want to, if you reject my rejection, then here's how I would frame it. The trans person believes, like if I'm gay, I'm still Max. I'm just Max who wants to fuck guys, right? And my community doesn't want me to be Max who wants to fuck guys, and so, but that's just part of me. But for a trans person, they change their name, they change their looks, they change at a fucking
Yeah, I'm
molecular
6
level,
levels away
or cellular level at least. They want to transform their bodies. So I still
the
think it's
new
different in that,
Eclipse. Oh yeah.
you can I could be gay or I could be straight, and it would change that part of my life and that part of me, but it's not a holistic alteration of my body and identity. Whereas I think that trans people want, I don't think they want to, it's a desire to travel from here to here, and they want to be here. To stop being trans is easy. You just have to not do that.
Yeah, but
and then you won't be trans. You'll just be really uncomfortable and you'll hate yourself and like.
But I think the
you'll
problem is
wanna
that
die.
like our sexuality, or I'm sorry, our sexual orientation is only experienced in some facets of our life at some points in time, whereas our like gender or sex is something that is like omnipresent. It's basically with you from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, and it affects every single facet of your life. If I'm gay, I can go into certain areas and nobody will know that I'm gay. I don't have an outward appearance about it. Nobody has to know. Whereas if I'm a man or a woman, every single part of my interaction with society will be dictated to some extent on my gender expression. And if I'm
And I assume
considered
that's part of what makes it so uncomfortable.
yeah, and it's part of what means why they have to change so much. It's not just a simple thing like, oh, my orientation is a little different, you know?
I think also when you're gay, it's not like you're so upset that like you're not having sex with a man, right? Like horniness can be uncomfortable, but generally, it's not unpleasantness that is pushing you to behave sexually towards other people, I think. But when you're trans, it's like you're in a frying pan, and the frying pan is your own body and the reality of your own body, and wanting to get out. It is discomfort with your own body. I think that this dysphoria that is usually propelling the actions of a trans person. So that's why I'm saying I don't think trans people really want to stop being trans, because to me, if you're in the frying pan and you're not doing anything about it, then you're not trans. You just hate your body and you wish or believe that you're...
If you're not doing anything about it. I don't... is it like... I will say it is a little weird for someone to be like, yeah, I feel a certain way about an issue I'm having, but I'm not going to lift a finger to do anything to change it. It makes me feel like you're either you don't actually give a fuck, or there's a higher order thing that you care about more, that like, I don't know, let's say saying I'm really cheap, I'm not going to spend any money on anything that costs more than $50. But this like sexual reassignment surgery or to pay for these hormones will cost me $100 or something. I'm not gonna do it now. Well, or at least say I want to save more money. Then saving money is more important than relieving my gender dysphoria.
Kind of, yeah. So
It's different from how it should be. And so who wants to just sit in the frying pan and like boil?
yeah,
Like,
I understand what you're saying, but we stumbled onto that thing earlier where it's a very fine point. But when you say they don't want to stop being trans, we're bumping into that foundational disagreement they have.
The rejection. Yeah.
Are they? Because in my point of view, they are trans, and now it's about matching the body to the mind. But in your point of view, there's a whole thing, and you either become trans or you aren't trans. That underlying fact of the matter isn't already there, right?
But but for your point, you're making a leap that I can't follow, which is that the broken pelvis thing, which is that a trans person, if they can actually learn without altering their hormones or surgery, which are the only two things I'm really pushing back against. I guess my main problems are punishing people for not referring to you the way you want them to, using surgery, and using hormones. Those are the things I disagree with. Everything else about being trans, I'm on board with. or everything else, I guess, about accepting trans people into society or adjusting, making room for them. I guess I'm on board with everything else. But the leap you're making is that if you can be calmed down, and if you can realize actually you don't need to
73, you need 250 grass.
Then you weren't really trans.
73.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with your definition of trans as like that can't be accomplished.
Yeah. So let me just put forth this is so we're on the same page, or we both understand what we're talking about. So this is my understanding of trans people, okay? And this is this foundational bump that we're having, okay? My understanding is that we seem to have some internal experiences related to our gender identity, like whether we feel like we're male.
Oh,
or female.
no.
There's like an internal experience that seems to exist there. And some people it's very strong, and other people it's not as strong. So you said something that I kind of agree with. If I woke up as a woman, I don't actually think I would care that much. I don't know if I had boobs or but it's whatever. It's not like a huge part of like I'm not super attached to being like a man. Some people seem to be very attached to their sexuality or gender, right? So maybe this is varying for people. But for trans people, it seems as though in general there is a strong internal experience of a gender, and if it's not matching that external expression of their gender, there is a problem there that makes them feel like they're in the wrong body in a way that like there is an internal fact of the matter about their gender experience, and it is not matching their body. One of the best, it's just a personal example, so it could be nothing. One of the best examples that I got of this was a trans person emailed me, and they had gone off and on insurance when it came to being able to take hormones for their body, and they said that it was like if you get acne and you look at your face, like it's gross. But when they would start hormone therapy, I think this was a trans man, when they would start hormone therapy and then when they would get off hormone therapy, just the way that their body would start to put on that very like feminine shape in their waist and everything, when they would stop taking hormones for a while, it was like a cringy, like fingernails across the chalkboard type of experience of looking at their body in such a way that didn't match their internal feeling of the gender that they felt they were internally. So that's the position that I'm coming from. So in my world, and I understand that you reject this kind of conditioning, but in my world, the reason why everything builds out easily from this is if there is an internal fact of the matter of your gender and your body doesn't match that, and that internal part, whether it's socially or not, is really, really, really hard or almost impossible to change.
Sometimes I wonder, is it even possible to separate? Because your internal view of yourself is going to be so influenced by the society you live in that a man, like MrGirl said earlier, a man in the Middle East is going to view themselves differently than a man in the LGBT West. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be different. And it's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much we can define. I don't know how much, like, it's going to require that people's brains break out of certain paradigms for this conversation to actually make sense to people. So.
And it seems like the easier part is, well, if we can't make the brain match the body, then we make the body match the brain. And that's where hormone therapy or gender reassignment surgery or sex, whatever stuff comes in. Yeah, gender affirming surgery.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, go.
And yeah, so my pushbacks against those things is one, maybe we don't have to make the brain match the body. Maybe life just sucks. You know, maybe life sucks for all of us. Maybe none of our brains match our bodies to differing degrees, and we can't all have what we want. And the ways we think we're going to get what we want are actually just going to make us feel sad. And
oh wait, the fiesta should have started.
Two, you're accepting as a given the extreme discomfort of your body not matching your sense of your gender, while also telling me that you don't believe that would be the case for you. I don't believe it would be the case for me either. And okay, have you met men who you feel like would be, or who are like super uncomfortable with being feminized in any way?
Yeah, it's a really common experience for men, I would say.
Okay.
I was in all boys high school, so it's a very common, like hyper masculine, like yeah, it's a very, very big thing. Yeah.
190.
I think that is kind of the same as being trans. Like in terms of the extreme attachment to your gender, I find that to be kind of a problem, even if your gender matches your body. I think that
Okay.
I don't
think that's good, and I feel superior to people who feel like that.
Okay, so this is gonna get really personal now. Okay. Wait, how old are you? I'm just curious.
I can't do anything as far as damage.
I can't
to
give
me.
you good answers there, and I'm much younger than you. I'm only 33-year-old. Okay, so it's possible.
That's a huge
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So here's something that's hard to consider.
Okay, boy.
It might be the case that you are somewhat of an exceptional person. Now, when I say exceptional, I mean great or good. I just mean like an exception.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I'll get personal here because there are some ways that I view life that I think are incredibly exceptional, and it took me a while of having a public audience to realize, well, hold on.
Everybody thinks that.
Yeah, I have a wickedly different. The best example that I can think of is I don't have a strong attachment to my family, and I've never understood people that put up with abusive family members. And anytime somebody would ask me for advice on that, like, hey, what would you recommend? Like, my mom is like so mean around the holiday. I'm like, cut her out of your life. Why would you ever talk to her? Just stop talking to her forever. Never talk to this person again. It's so easy. And it took me a long time to realize, like, okay, hold on. Other people process things in such different ways. It's really, really difficult for me to empathize with them. So I need to like engage my brain a lot to figure out, like, okay, well, how do you feel about this thing? Because clearly my experience internally is not the same as yours. And I feel, it's hard to say and it's a little presumptuous things, but I feel pretty similar when it comes to trans people. And it's hard for me to say because I can't actually do this, but I really do feel like if I woke up tomorrow and I was a woman, I really don't think I would care. My masculinity or me being a man is just a really minor part of my experience as a human. Now, maybe I only feel that way because I am a man and my body and everything matches, so that's why I'm saying it's a little bit presumptuous, but I really truly don't think I would give a fuck. But it might be the case that not everybody feels that way. There are some people where some aspects of their life are incredibly important to them. That might be family, it might be their religion is a really big one for some people. Yeah. So I have to be careful when I talk to. So it's easy for me, or I don't want to say I see where you're coming from because it makes it sound like, oh, I know everything. I know everything you're thinking. But I can empathize with your position. Where it's like, well, I don't feel like gender matters that much. Oh, why are these people literally like so distraught over it? But when I look at how other people act, and I see like, okay, you're willing to fucking commit suicide because this is giving you so much anguish. Maybe
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for that reason. And I get what you're saying. I've had similar experiences where I'm like I had a friend in LA who was very religious, and her boyfriend, she was forbidden from dating her boyfriend, and he moved to New York. And I was like, well, just move to New York.
You know what?
You're
ballroom.
You're like 25 years old. Like, what are you doing? And
not that I'm dying here, but
like years, she basically didn't budge an inch. Incredibly miserable, trapped.
Like
a character in
Fiesta
Disney movie,
marbles,
where it's
honestly.
I know you grew up watching these movies. You know what the right answer is. And that's another weird thing. It's like culturally, we do have the story of like, oh, you should defy your parents and defy authority and go be your true self and fall in love and stuff. But most people aren't like that.
It's like ultra individualist, ultra liberal idea of like being a rugged individual. But one's like, I don't know if everybody can do that all the time.
Yeah, most people will just suck up to their parents until they're dead, for sure, and then have a midlife crisis. So
yeah.
I get what you're saying, and I agree that that's
have a midlife crisis. That's upsetting.
Both are ways of thinking about this that were possibly just weird. But to me, I can see why I am like that. Like, my mom's a lesbian, and I grew up listening to Prince and Madonna and Michael Jackson. Like they were like the Holy Trinity, and then like they all basically cross-dressed. And I grew up in Amherst, Massachusetts, which is like super liberal. And so I had the idea of gender like deconstructed for me at a very young age. And I have to assume that that is a lot of why I think and feel the way I do. So I don't... It feels like you're giving up on people a bit if you... It's not like an enlightenment. Like, well, I guess I do feel it.
When you say give up, I think I understand what you mean. It's like, well, hold on, like maybe these people could actually, like, I don't think
kill
that
me.
that sounds a little bit like easy, but maybe if these people spent some time like deliberating on this, it would be easier for them to move from these positions rather than having to like go through these expensive surgeries.
Yeah, like when I first started going to therapy, the shit I thought I wanted was wrong. For years, I was wrong. I knew what I wanted. I would have done anything to get it, and I was wrong. Yet I needed somebody to tell me that I was wrong. Or it's not even what happened. I just needed the space to be forced to sit and have someone to sit with me, so that eventually I could find out what I actually think. It's not... I don't think that kind of healing or self-discovery is fun. And I feel like we've made...
It's going to be difficult because all the people that are saying that transness doesn't exist are so fucking aggressive. Like, that's the problem. They're just like, do you think trans people exist? No! It's a terrible thing on our society! It's destroying men and women's... It's just like... Bro, damn. Damn. Like, chill the fuck out. I asked you a simple question. And you're gone. You're losing it. Skill comes back so fast. You can use Full House so much. Full House is the cooldown time on Full House is insane. You can just use it so much. It's useful. I'm sorry, the video.
A kind of roller coaster for trans people that is fun. And I don't think we're doing it because we want to help. I think we're doing it out of self-preservation. Not you, but I think that our society in general is reluctant to challenge people. And I think there is a loving way to challenge trans people that I feel like there's too often a false dichotomy of like, you're either saying, yes, you are truly a woman and this is your destiny and you're whatever, and you have to have these surgeries and we'll all pay for it and congratulate you and throw you a party, or you're a mentally ill asshole and I hate you and you threaten my religion and fuck you. And like, there has to be something else where we're like a loving boundaries of being like, you need, like, you can go to Planned Parenthood and get hormones the same day now. And like, people are fine with this. And it's like, if you're right that there are people who think they're trans but they're not really trans, which I believe is all trans people and you believe is some subset, either way, I think we both agree that you probably shouldn't be able to go to Planned Parenthood when you're 18 and get hormones the same day without ever talking to a therapist or a specialist or fucking anybody. You could watch a YouTube video instructing you on how to do this and have hormones in your system 24 hours later.
Sure.
To me, that's a problem, and it's just a symptom of that there not being any way to be like, hey, like, maybe this is more complicated. And maybe your feelings about your life and about yourself and about your body are all really complicated. Maybe we have to sit down and like sift through all this shit together and maybe it's going to take like months or years. And then once we've done all that, like at a certain point, I like sure, I don't think we can like just stop people from doing what they want at a certain point. But like, man, it doesn't feel empathetic to. I don't think accepting people's narratives about themselves at face value and then jumping to kind of like drastic treatments is empathetic.
I'm not dropping it.
Yeah, okay, so...
not dropping any of them.
Let me paraphrase a little bit, summarizing. I think you're largely saying things that I agree with. We've moved to a society where we feel the need to over-accommodate for every type of behavior, and people are starting to view challenges as always negative, when some challenging experiences can be enriching, or you can grow from and learn from them, right?
Yeah.
And your worry is that we've kind of like, we've taken that idea and we've distilled it down into such a perfect formula. We've applied this to almost every area of our lives. And one of those areas might be for trans people. So maybe you might say a statement like, okay, even if I agree that trans people are real, and even if I agree that they should have surgery, and even if I agree on hormone therapy and all this other stuff, and I'll even treat them differently, at the very least, isn't it a little bit strange that you admit that there are some trans people that are probably just confused or whatever? Don't you think that there should be some barrier there, or some conversation that should happen with a licensed professional before they get therapy? Or I'm sorry, before they get like hormone replacement therapy or something? And if not, isn't that just an example of like potentially being over-accommodating towards people's, you know, thoughts and feelings without ever actually challenging them in a way that might be better than just them having surgery or hormone replacement therapy? Sorry, I was worried.
Yeah, because if you're wrong, and if you take your 16-year-old or 14-year-old to get puberty blockers, or you're a therapist and you approve this, like, what if you're just throwing them under the bus and allowing them to do what they are later going to perceive as damage their bodies? And some detransitioners do feel like this because you didn't want to have to be in the hot seat of saying, let's talk this through. It's going to be complicated, it's going to be painful, you're going to hate me, but I think we need to talk this through.
Yeah, sure. I don't think I necessarily have a problem with that, and I think I might even go a step further and say, actually, I don't need to go a step further. So I've gotten into fights a lot with people because there was a really big trend online of like helping people figure out that they're trans, and then like getting them all these like weird kind of like Russian sites to order hormones from, so you never have to tell a therapist. Right? This is a big fight I got into with a lot of people.
It's weird.
And I had issues with this for a variety.
The idea of like trying to give people understanding about their parents knowing this, like, you're going to come off as a predator. There's no other way to. Well, the reason why this important medical decision, why we should completely ignore the parents, is because it's like.
Reasons, but I think that the problem here is that, like, I'll admit that sometimes people take it a little bit far on the left when it comes to this, but I still wouldn't go fully over to the area of like. So at some point we can't escape this. So at some point we're gonna have to like pour over the literature and say like, well, how successful is it to try to like de-trans somebody? And my understanding is that similar to like sexual orientation conversions, like taking a gay person and making them straight, it just seems like it's not very effective. It seems like that doesn't really work out that well most of the time. And by most of the time,
You're doing it wrong.
Okay, and that might be the case, but then
part of the problem is we're trying to detransition somebody in a society that made them trans in the first place. Like, I think that we, as evidenced by your all-boys school and my experience of kind of most people's relationships with their bodies, we have created, and I don't think it's innate to our species, but for some reason, people feel super viscerally attached to their societally constructed genders and how that relates to their bodies. I don't think that it has to be that way. So
sure, and I might even agree with you here. There might even be some trans people that would agree with you. I've had conversations, and this is a very contentious story. It's very difficult because sexual analysis is very difficult. How do you separate your internal feelings versus societally reinforced ones, right? That's almost impossible to do.
But yeah, you can't. I mean,
and I think you can find some trans people that will say, you know, in a totally different type of society, I might not be trans. That might actually even be I've talked to trans people that have said that to me before. In a totally different society, maybe I wouldn't be trans. Maybe I would just be a tomgirl, or maybe I would just be like a feminine man. Maybe it would just be different. Maybe I wouldn't have that feeling.
Yeah, I find that unacceptable.
Well, so the issue is like, let's say that is the case. Yeah. Even if that was the case, now we're confronted with two potential solutions then to a person's transness. Either one, we figure out a way to accommodate them, meaning surgery or hormones, or two, we change all of society.
I think too.
Yeah, but the hard part is, how do you tell a person that they just have to suffer then while they wait on all of society changing to alleviate their suffering?
I'll handle that. Because you know what the problem is, if you don't do that, it's like it'd be like taking painkillers all day, and so you don't have to know when something is wrong. Like, you can't. Society will not change until it sees the pain that it's causing, not just trans people. This is something that hurts everyone.
Does it though? Or what do you mean in terms of does it hurt everyone? I'm curious about that. What do you mean by that?
When I see men and women who are so like in LA, I was a personal trainer, and like female clients all the time would say, they would come in and say, I want to be smaller, but I want to be toned. And I'd say, okay, so you want to lift weights? And I'd say, well, I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to look like a man. And I'll just see, and so I'd say, okay, so I developed a speech. And I would say every single female client wants the same thing.
Yeah.
They want to be more toned, they want to be smaller somehow, but also bigger at the same time. So you don't want to be bony, you don't want to be muscular, and you don't want to be fat. So you don't want to exist.
Sure.
And so if you have to choose between one of those three, which you do, why don't we go with muscle, since it's the one that like is healthy and like works. And like there's this like clash every single time, and this like fear of appearing masculine or even appearing strong.
Sure.
I feel like negatively affects every woman, and then men, yeah, are terrified of being feminized in the slightest in any situation. I don't think it's really suiting anybody. I just think that trans people are kind of the canary in the coal mine that are like, this sucks.
Yeah, and that might be the case. It might be that trans people exist and have problems, not necessarily inherent to their transness, but they might just exist at a very weird intersection of like 4 or 5 other societal facts, and then they're like an emergent problem of those facts, where if anything else underneath maybe were to change, maybe those things wouldn't be as big a deal, or wouldn't even exist.
I think we need to figure out what those are. Like, what if black people wanted to look white, so they wouldn't have to deal with the racism in society? Would you be in favor of that, if they could take a pill to look white, so that they wouldn't have to individually feel the pain?
If it was such a huge problem, and if this provided like some sort of like alleviation of those symptoms or problems, then yeah, I think
racism isn't a huge problem, Destiny.
nowhere near as much.
You're gonna get clipped,
yeah, no,
bro.
I argued about this last year. But if it was, I would have a harder time telling somebody, no, you have to suffer through this because we're gonna make all of society better for you. Just wait, or at least your children will be happier. You know. I think it's hard to compel people to suffer on it.
Do you see a sort of insidious evil that I see in encouraging black people to take the pill? So if a black person says to me, I hate being black, wait, so you're saying you don't think racism is a huge problem, or you do?
Right now, I mean, I think it's a problem, but not as big as people complain about it.
Oh my god. Okay. Let's say, do you think it was a problem in
like the early 60s? Yeah. Or the 50s? Yeah.
Okay. So black people in the early 60s want to take a pill to look white. Do you see that if say I'm a really white person, right? I'm not a Jew. Say I'm not a Jew, and I have a white picket fence, and I have a nice white family, and I don't really want the status quo to change, right? Because I'm on top, and I'm winning. And then my black neighbor is saying, oh, I don't know if I should take the pill, and I say, oh, well, I want to be your supportive liberal friend. Of course you should take the pill. I'll help you get the pill. I'll help you get it as fast as possible. There's an insidious darkness I see in what we're doing to trans people, the way it actually reinforces the status quo. It makes it so the rest of us don't have to change.
Yeah, so this is something that I've wrestled with for a long time. The easier way to kind of phrase this is that, like, if we're trying to break gender norms, how can you do that while simultaneously reinforcing them with hormone therapy and surgery, right? Like, on one end, we want to say that a woman doesn't have to be this, but a trans person basically says, no, I have to be this if I'm going to be a woman, right?
Yes, although I think I'm talking about something also deeper than gender norms. Of
I understand what you're saying.
Forcing people to develop a deeper understanding of their relationships with their bodies, that I agree would result in changing gender norms, but I feel like there's a scary thing underneath that people don't want to.
Sure, is this kind of similar to, you've heard of the idea of like CRISPR, like gene editing and stuff? It's the idea of like, should we be able to gene edit like hair colors or eye colors? Maybe result in them having like easier lives because they look more conventionally attractive, but
I mean, I feel like you should be able to gene edit diseases. Like, imagine it's like, hey, we found a way to genetically modify humans so that they don't get the common cold anymore. Sign me up. I don't want the cold, bro. I don't want the cold. I'm tired of I'll take the confidence of sneezing, but I want to be able to breathe at night when I go to sleep, motherfucker.
What is the world you're creating if you go down that road? Kind of a similar argument to that. Because rather than forcing people to become comfortable having different colors of eyes, different types of bodies, we're basically saying that like there's a one-size-fits-all and everybody should be allowed to change to that, and we kind of like lose that facet of the human experience.
That, but underneath it, I also think that there's at the end of the day, there's always going to be that self-hatred somewhere. And if you can't sit with a lot of it, or a little of it, I just think that allowing black people to feel bad about their blackness, we've lost the ability to do that. You're not allowed to do that. If you're fat, you're not allowed to feel bad about being fat. You're not allowed to feel bad about anything anymore. It's not for liberals. It's not progressive to say on Instagram, like, oh, yeah, I'm fat and I want to lose 20 pounds. That's a hateful thing. Even if you're just talking about yourself, it's hate speech now. And that just not leaving room for bad feelings about yourself, I don't think is good for anybody. And I think that the rest of us kind of get to skirt it if our feelings aren't that bad, or we have a way to cover them up. And I think I think that's a big thing that we're evading by encouraging trans people to just fix it, or people to get plastic surgery.
Yeah, I think like on the broader level, I agree with what you're saying, but the problem is that we're gonna.
Then you have to tell individual people.
No, the problem is we're gonna butt heads again on that fundamental fact that we talked about earlier. Is because at the very beginning of this conversation, you said rightfully so, and I would admit to the opposite. That if we would determine that there are female brains and male brains, then trans people in society and accommodations made for them is going to be like an inescapable fact. And if there aren't trans brains, then we need to work on some other way to help these people, basically. But it seems like we're running into that wall again because like
no. You gave me a loophole.
What was that?
That there are some people who, if their brains don't match their bodies, could find that a beautiful, fun, interesting thing that does not necessarily make you want to die.
Well, sure, but I mean, like,
if you woke up as a woman tomorrow, you would not experience stomach-churning, life-ending dysphoria. You would just be like, oh, this is interesting. And that So even if trans people's brains are in the wrong bodies, that does not necessarily need to lead to surgery, hormones, or suicidality.
Yeah, and this is true. And most, so I don't know how familiar with this concept, and maybe this sounds like I'm making stuff up, but I think most trans people would agree with that as well, because you have, this is why being trans is not considered the mental illness, but rather gender dysphoria is considered a mental illness. And there are trans people that don't have.
I think most people would disagree. Like the thing I said earlier, most people are going to disagree. It's not about what an academic paper says for some people. It's just like, you don't behave like the rest of us. There's something wrong with you, which I think people don't understand the full ramifications of what that statement means. They just can only see like their point of view on it. But yeah.
Have had dysphoria. Like they're trans and their body doesn't match their brain, but they don't have like a severely horrible feeling about it. That it's just like kind of like a fact of their world. And these people may not find it necessary to transition or something, right?
Okay, so yes, so if you yeah, I think that's fine then. Then if they get surgery, then I think it's electives, or it's basically plastic surgery.
Yeah, basically cosmetic surgery.
Fine.
Yeah.
Wait, so what's there? What am I supposed to argue now?
Well, so I understand that there are some people that only do it for cosmetic reasons, and we can both acknowledge that those people might exist. And
yeah, so the dysphoria itself is not caused by being in the wrong body, if that's even possible.
Yeah, the dysphoria seems to stem from a huge
attachment to your gender identity.
But
and
until
that happens with cis people as well.
But until we've actually like got any data or any methodology by which to remove that attachment, it just seems to be too big an ask to tell a group of people that are like killing themselves at unbelievably high rates to say like, well, hold on, chill while we fix society, and then you can figure it.
I think the suicidality also comes first. I think that's another reason I'm more comfortable saying this, is that I think that if you want to end your life and you want to kill yourself, a complete wipe of your identity and name and how everybody talks to you seems like a kind of, I'm not going to kill myself, I'm going to do this instead.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. At some point, we're going to start bumping into empirical stuff, but I don't think that's the normal trans experience. I don't think that it's like clinically understood that like there are people that are suicidal who then just become trans to escape their suicidality. I don't think that's
yeah.
The
I just think this.
Okay, well, yeah, but we have to contend with what is the reality. Because if what you're saying is true, then I
don't
would
have to contend with reality. I'm not trying to get you to agree with me. I'm just explaining, because you're saying I don't feel comfortable saying to trans people, hold tight while we fix society, when the response to that might be an increase in suicidality.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is that like, do you know when I say deduction, does that mean anything to you, or deductive reasoning? Basically, what I'm saying is that like, if I give you two premises, we can both agree on a conclusion. If I say all men are mortal and Socrates is a man, hopefully you and I both would agree Socrates therefore is mortal, because the conclusion must come from the premises, right? But when I say deduction, I'm just saying that like conclusions naturally stem from our like premises. Yeah. Yeah. So all I'm saying is that like for some of the premises that you're giving me, if I were to accept these as true, I would. There's no, your conclusion is inarguable. If there were a whole bunch of people that were suicidal and then they became trans, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just trying to explain to you why I
They're
feel
not
the way
dropping the marbles.
Because
oh my god, it's so rare for them to fucking drop it.
Or you think it's immoral, but which I again still think is an emotional thing. You're saying it doesn't feel right to tell trans people sit tight while we fix society when they're saying they're in extreme psychological distress and possibly suicidal. I'm saying if you believe, as I do, that the suicidality is next to being trans or even underneath being trans, then you won't. That's why I don't feel that it's wrong.
Yeah, I understand. But like at some point, shouldn't we like check like the world to see like does our feeling there match like the actual experience of people?
I don't know that there's really a way to check this because I don't agree with. I don't really believe in self-reporting.
Well, it's not kind of the only, like we do self-reporting for crime, right? Like
I mean, self-reporting of who are you? What is your emotional state? Why do you do what you do? How do you feel?
Well, the self-reporting is like even medically, like even from actual medical conditions, you have to rely on self-reporting, no?
Yes, but that's self-reporting a bodily experience, which I do believe in. Like, are you in physical pain right now? Rate yourself from 1 to 10. I think that people are more reliable for that. But if you're taking somebody who intensely has a strongly desired outcome and narrative, the problem with being trans, one of the problems, is that innate in the identity is also a belief about the nature of what's happening. So like if you talk to like any other psychologically diagnosed condition, usually the person's reporting their experience, and then you take their experience, and then the clinician formulates it into
a comparable thing would be like, let's say somebody looks up like this is what ADHD is, and then they read all the symptoms, and you're saying it's kind of like going into the doctor's office, and you're basically reciting the symptoms that you led because you already you had it, so you're always going to get.
Yeah, I mean, right? we know that trans people on social media coach each other on what to say in order to get the hormones. Like that's pretty awesome. And again, understandable. Like I would do the same thing if I wanted the hormones. Then fucking tell me what I have to say. But even beyond that, ADHD itself, at its core, does not involve a belief about ADHD. Being trans at its core involves a belief.
I mean,
and the belief.
I don't know if it's important, but I would disagree with that. But yeah, go ahead.
The fundamental belief that you can be in the wrong body and that you are in the wrong body. So any questionnaires or interviews done with a trans person is going to it's
tainted in that way.
They're going to answer from that frame. And so if as the interviewer I'm saying my belief is that trans people are very angry people, like incredibly angry people, who do not know how to express their anger outwardly and turn it inward. And that trans people are
Oh man,
very
I'm
sad.
running out of heal. I'm
and
running out of MP
want
potions.
their lives, want to hit the eject button on their lives.
Oh,
What about for like trans people that they're like historically we can find people that report feelings of like being trans before there's even like a scientific description or understanding of any of these ideas though?
I think why does that contradict what I'm saying?
Because I believe
said
that
there isn't an existing framework to bind
for them
to,
to kind of
you're
yeah.
saying? I don't necessarily. I do think that there's definitely a social contagion aspect, for sure. But I don't think that's kind of the core of what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a if you imagine someone who cannot express anger outwards, especially to their parents or teachers.
I would
or
like
figures
some
of
more
authority,
Fiesta
and turn it
marbles, but
inward.
this is
And that
ridiculous.
person
It's so
feels
hard for them to
trapped and bullied and
drop.
just desperately wants to escape their lives. I think it is likely, or it makes sense to me, that they would arrive at the conclusion of, oh, I'm not me. I'm not this way. I'm this other person. I'm a woman, or I'm a man.
Some
And it's a
goddamn
desire
Fiesta
to
marbles.
get out.
I understand, but like
And I'm not saying this is provable. I'm saying I think this. So if you just accept that I think this, and I know you may not agree, then you can see why telling me, oh, but we asked them, and they said they weren't suicidal. I would say, well, yeah, they don't. That of course they're going to say that. Like I don't think they know why they're feeling what they're feeling, and it's the job of psychology to figure that out. And I think that psychologists, with regard to
Back
this
to
issue,
it.
are being
Try to-
uncharacteristically
the last
permissive
2
in
minutes.
allowing the patient to define what's happening with them. When someone comes in and says, I'm getting messages from Mars, we say, oh, we have a name for that, and it's not the name that you think. There's a lot of people like you. We have a name for all of them, and it's actually what you're saying is not that unique, and here's what you need to do, and here's how we're going to approach this, rather than I'm going to take your word for it.
yeah, and I agree
saying.
with you, but we're bumping back again into that descriptive fact of the matter because like.
Yeah,
let's say that there were people that had that thing, but then like let's say that we started to investigate the brains of these people, and all of them had like some microscopic antenna that seemed to be only in their brains. At some point, we were like, well, hold on, wait, maybe there is something else here that's worth investigating.
But we haven't found that.
Well, for trans
We
people,
found
we do
things that
see.
trans people think we found it, and schizophrenic people think that they do think they have found antennas. You don't let the fucking patient look for the proof.
Well, no, we're not
that their
talking
delusion-
about this. There's not like trans biologists are the only people saying this. Like there are regions of the
A
brain.
lot of them are. If you in my research of trying to find out, like, okay, who's saying this? A lot of the papers are written by trans people, but that.
I mean, it's published in peer-reviewed journals. Like I don't know what the like.
Trans review journal. No, let me
No,
back
I
up.
don't think-
I know. I think that's okay. Let me back up to this. You just accept the premise of transness more than I do, significantly more, and that I don't accept it at all, and you accept it.
Well, hold on.
Slightly.
Wait, hold on. That's not fair. Are you familiar with the concept of like Bayesian probability? So, let's say basically
yeah.
both of us.
Sort of.
Here's like the difference. Okay, so I'm starting like I would hope that my prior assumption is like, are trans people real or are trans people fake? And I would start at like a 50%. They could be real, they could be fake, and I will adjust my expectation of their realness or their fakeness based on the information that I get. And as I've gotten more information, so for instance, I see people willing to kill themselves over their transness. I see that historically trans people existed before the concept of transness existed. I see that neuroscientists and neurobiologists are finding differences in brain structure
No,
between
yeah,
trans
it's supposed to
people
be
and cis people.
cooking
As that
pizza,
happens, my
actually.
probability gets
Never
updated
mind.
more and more. Like, okay, maybe I started off at 50-50. No, I'm like 60-40. No, I'm like 65.
we
Whatever,
got
it's updated.
15
So my point is,
seconds
it's-
left.
Where are you now?
for trans people being like a real thing that like now this isn't saying that they're born trans or anything like that, but like I don't know, based on everything I see, probably like 80-20. It seems like pretty reasonable to me. It seems like there's like more and more literature that comes out that kind of like reaffirms this position. Now that's not to say it's impossible that that'll change in the future. Maybe something comes out in the future. It's like, well, actually, we found this chemical that makes people feel this way, and this can be changed or whatever, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I got
back
so
to
one thing.
Snowcone.
If someone comes in and says Martians are sending you messages, you don't start at 50% for that.
No, my prior for that is going to start out much lower. Yeah.
At zero.
No, never zero.
suppose-
I think a really important thing for humans is you never start off with a 0% probability, your a priori probability. It's always going to be at least like
Closer-
yeah, it'll be
closer to
low.
zero than
It'll be
that.
like 0.1% or something. Yeah, 0.01%, but never zero.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it will be the floor.
Close. Yeah.
There's the okay. Okay, so that's where I'm at, and that's where I started at. And I think that we both agree you would be doing a disservice to the patient if the patient comes in and says Martians are sending me messages to start at 50%, and then say, well, let's start collecting evidence and see what we find.
It's a good
That
counter.
would be
Yep.
unethical to do.
For the Martian thing, yeah, probably because we've got so much other evidence already investigating this stuff in the background. Yeah.
Do you think it's unethical to do that if your internal response, and this is basically an emotional response, is like, that's not fucking true? And you can say it's a logical analysis, you've arrived at this point, but like I'm an atheist. And like, I don't care how many, like if you talk to a Christian, they'll say, oh, you know, in a week I can show you evidence. And then you're just like, well, no, you can't. You're just gonna show me other shit that you made up or shit that you twisted into blah blah. But from an atheist perspective, I don't fucking care what you say. It's not true.
Damn, I don't think you should think that. I'm a super strong atheist, but I would never say that my like probability of existence is about a 0%. I would say it's very slim. But I could be shown evidence that would convince me otherwise. And even you believe that. Like if God fucking
No.
you do.
No,
Oh,
no,
you don't.
if God appeared
You're
in
more
front of
likely to
me-
assume you were crazy than not.
Of course.
Do you
I I would assume I was crazy.
If I say like epistemic nihilism, does that mean anything to you, or is that like a jumble of dumb fucking?
What,
Do you believe that like you can ever know the fact of the matter about anything?
Stop proving that I don't know what these words mean.
No, yeah, sorry. I don't want to explain to you and be like, that makes you
Destiny,
fucking
of course,
condescending.
I know what you mean, but I think your viewers might not. So
Yeah, okay, that's right. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Well,
What I'm basically asking is that, like, I just want to explain something. I'm condescending. I'm not trying to do that again. Do you
you're
believe?
being condescending in a different way. And I prefer the first.
you know?
I prefer the over-explaining one.
Gotcha. Okay, so for
Then I can just have a poker face and just wait for you to finish and say, yeah. I
Gotcha.
already
My
knew.
bad. Okay. What basically what I'm asking you is that, like, could you know the fact of the matter about anything? Do you think that any particular truth is knowable? Because my next question, what I was going to explore with you, but I think I already know how this is going to end. Because my next question I was going to ask you is like, okay, well, what if 3 other people all saw the same godlike entity? But your response would probably, well, I would assume that all of us are crazy and there was a contagion. And then what if I said that, like, what if 100 people saw it? It feels like your next answer would be like, okay, well, these either a mass contagion or I'm dead and I'm having like a hallucination or something, or I was drugged and I'm not like seeing anything real. Sounds like that's what you would say, yeah?
I think so. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the trans
Yeah.
issue.
So
I'm like,
my next question on that then basically is that, like, do you ever worry that you've established a world, or you put yourself in kind of a world where there might be true things, but because of the way that you view truth, that it's impossible to convince you of some things that are actually true?
I would say that is a definitional flaw of what I'm telling you about myself. That has to be true. There must be things that are true that I can't be convinced of.
There must be things that are true, but you can't be convinced of those things. Is
Yeah,
that okay for you? Do you
I-
accept that, or?
I accept that. Yeah. I accept that more than.
Why? Why would you want that? That seems kind of bad.
Well, I don't think I can choose this. I think this is just how I'm wired. Okay, there's an experiment. There's a social psychology experiment. There's 2 that I want to tell you about that you probably already know. But one,
Explain for the
just
audience,
for the audience, right?
Okay.
So one is I have a line on 2 lines on a board.
Oh, Ash's line test, whatever, right?
I don't know what the fuck it's called.
Oh,
the
never mind.
line A is longer than line B. Is this what you're talking about?
The social pressure, getting somebody to say that the line,
Yeah. Okay, so you have one test subject per classroom, and every other person in the classroom says the short one is longer. And they have to raise their hands one at a time and they say which one's longer. And every other person in the room says line B is longer when it's clearly line A. And then you see how easy is it to get the subject to agree with the rest of the class, even though it's clearly not true. And it's not. Most people go along with it.
I don't think it's most, but it's a surprisingly high number. I think it was like 38% or something, but it's a lot. Like when the answer is clearly wrong, you can get more than a third of people to say that like the other answer because of social pressure. Yeah, it is a surprise. Yeah.
And then the other one is the smoke coming into the room test. Have you heard of this one?
I don't know this one.
So you have a bunch of people answering like logic questions. Okay, and there's only one participant. And in the middle of the test, they start pumping smoke under the door. And then you just see and obviously the person looks around and starts getting antsy in their seat, but everyone else just pretends they don't notice. And then you see how long it takes them to say like, hey, there's smoke coming into the room. And it's like, again, surprisingly, a much longer time than if other people are also reacting and saying, oh, what's that?
Sure.
So, yes, it is a flaw.
I mean, that's how society works.
But the
In a
plus
way.
side is that I will never be in that 38.
And we do this to people already because you know that when no one wants to be the wrong person, ever. No one ever wants to be wrong. You have people that are afraid, like, it'll even happen in school. Hey, does anyone have a question on this? And no one will raise their hand. And then you'll have a student come up at the end of class. Yeah, so I was confused on this thing because I can't be wrong in front of everyone. It's just like that pressure is always there. And it's so stupid. It's so stupid. We're encouraging people to not speak up when they need help because of social pressure. That is essentially what the fuck is happening.
8% or whatever, who says line B is longer than line A. It's not.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is. I used to be very religious, and then I became an atheist as I went through high school. So this is kind of the classic challenge. I'm just curious how you resolve this. So I accept that there are people that think like that. Now, normally I apply this to religious people, but what I don't accept is that can be a reasonable way to live. Because my next question is, what do you do if you come up against somebody that feels the same way, but they have a different interpretation of reality that necessitates like harm to you? How do you ever resolve disputes between 2 people like that? So let's say that they come up to you, and let's say that they know that they're living in the Matrix. They just do. They know 100%. They're totally convinced of it. Nothing you say can change your mind about it. And they also think that you're about to turn into Agent Smith, so they have to kill you, right? When you start to get societies full of people that accept that they can't really truly know anything, but they're still going to act on those convictions and give societal prescriptions for what we should do, how do you resolve those differences between people?
I would just say there's a necessary component of society that requires conformity. That would be you can't, if you have a country and 50% of the people think it's okay to steal and the other 50% of people think it's not okay to steal, you're just gonna have a civil war and your country will separate. But sorry, that's as dissatisfying as that is. If you have enough people that disagree on the fact of the matter, to where where it becomes so incongruent with other people, the larger that portion of people is, the greater that discrepancy. The society just will fall apart. You your society would be more stable if every single person was a flat earther versus half the people not believing in flat earth and half the people are believing it. Like that's just what it is. Society just will be more stable because there's less combativeness. There's less of it. So
People. I'm just curious. This is a really hard question also. I don't expect you to oh, you see this. But that's
what I
I
would
think,
say.
I think democracy is a good one. Like if everybody shares the same delusion, then that's fine.
Yeah,
there's nothing to
exactly.
You can't do anything about that anyway.
Well, sure, but this isn't. We're having a conversation over not how the world is, but how we want it to be. Because right now, my understanding is you're not happy with democracy, right? Yeah.
Let me explain. If a chunk of people believe that you're going to turn into Agent Smith, but it's not most people, then it's going to be illegal to kill me. So we have cops and laws to prevent people from doing that. So they know I'm supposed to kill Max, but I shouldn't because I can't. Someone will stop me, or if I do, I'll get thrown in jail, and then eventually all the Matrix people will either end up in jail, or they'll do what most religious people do now, which is say like, yeah, the book says I'm supposed to kill that person, but god damn it, I want to get home for dinner, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
But we use democracy and the law to say, yeah, you can believe what you want to believe, but if you act on it, like you're out of society. And now if you have a super religious society, like with Sharia law, then most people are either pretending to believe or do believe in whatever, and then that just becomes the law. And that makes sense to me.
Almost done with these dudes. Like 25 more ice grass.
Yeah, so my answer to your question is democracy, and just telling people like, you don't have to agree with me. I feel this way about white supremacists.
Sure.
I'm like, you don't have to believe that I'm like not an evil Jew. It's fine for you to think that. I don't agree with the whole like punch Nazis or force them to think what I think. But I don't want you to be in charge of the laws.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the problem is we're not having a conversation over what society is. We're having a conversation over what society should be. Because right now it seems like we're moving in a direction where democracy disagrees with you because people seem to be making way more concessions to trans people than what you personally are comfortable with, right? So you're trying to argue against right now the democratic will of the people using your own kind of like existence that you yourself said is in some ways unfalsifiable and verifiable. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with what you said before, that the rubber band thing, we need people to push back against everything. And I don't want trans people to stop doing what they're doing. If you're trans and if that's what you believe is going to make you happy, then I want you to do what you think is best for you. And if you're a trans advocate, I want you to do what you think is best for trans people. What I'm arguing against is, one, I think some people are going along with this for their own personal selfish reasons, and they don't believe they're doing what's best for trans people, and I think that's wrong, and I want to ask them to stop doing that. And two, I want to fulfill the role that you're describing earlier of I think it's going too fast, and I don't want people to agree with me. I'm not out to try to get everybody to think like me. It's not like the Matrix thing in the sense that like I would want that person to just change their mind. I don't feel that way about trans people. I might be wrong. And some
I'm not even hungry yet.
It really comes down to philosophy, and like it does.
You ever just be hungry? Not hungry, or just be like, man, I could eat something right now, but you're not actually hungry. I'm trying so hard to combat that right now. I could go for some of that pizza. Well, then again, the oven takes about 10 minutes to preheat and takes about 20 minutes to cook. So even if I'm not hungry now, I'll be, fuck it. Oh, wait. I ain't gonna be fat.
It does come down to semantics and the utility of the definitions we're going to arrive at. I don't want everybody to share my definitions. I just want people to think about it. And I don't want to control the government. I don't want to say you can't teach this in school. If most people believe this, then make it the law, give them whatever protections they want. That's fine. I do believe in democracy. I'm not trying to argue against the will of the people. I'm trying to be that nagging voice, or just not nagging voice. I'm trying to create a comfortable space for uncomfortable feelings and uncomfortable conversations. That in the conservative pushback, the Ben Shapiro like to mock you and call you stupid and crazy in front of all your classmates and then cut your mic off. Like the conservative pushback against this is very unkind. It comes from a similar place that we were talking about earlier, where Ben Shapiro woke up in a woman's body tomorrow, he would kill himself. It's not what I'm advocating for. And I think what I'm trying to present here is missing. Of like, maybe there's a nice way to say no to this, and maybe we're capitulating too much, and we need to look in the mirror and make sure we're all doing and saying what we really believe.
Sure, I don't think.
Yeah, but a lot of people, that's when people talk about. This is my definition of when people talk about the Matrix or stuff like that. My definition of the Matrix is any system that makes people conform to a certain idea that goes against what they actually believe in a way to where like we are actually thought policing in a way. We should be able to live in a society where people say, I disagree with some of the stuff that's going on with trans people without canceling them or labeling them as transphobic. Because then you're saying, on the other end, what makes you different from someone saying, I'm right, and I know I'm right. There's nothing that could prove me. Like, you're literally that person. You're literally that person. Absolutely nothing can prove me wrong. Then at that point, I don't even know why are you involved in the conversation? There is no conversation. Every conversation is meaningless. You're already correct. Why?
I'd necessarily disagree with that. I mean,
And it just seems like the left's approach over the course of, let's just say it's 2024, let's say over the past almost a decade, the left's approach has kind of been like, you will do what we say, and you will believe what we believe, you will state the ideas we state, and if you don't, then, you will accept the narrative that we're doing, you will accept whether that go from LGBT to COVID to systemic injustice. Even if I agree with the underlying thought process or the core message, it's just like, you cannot authoritarian your way to, that's not, well, first of all, it's not how America is run. It's like anti-American idealism to do so. Yeah.
As I said earlier, like the natural tension, everything is good and fine. I guess it just comes down to like, how do we determine which statements we believe are true and which statements we don't believe are true, like about relating to trans people, whatever. Because it sounds like you have like a collection of experiences that you feel give you a pretty what? Yeah,
supersede all else. And so I think we probably agree more on Black Lives Matter, right? Like protests are good and riots are bad.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Right? But for some reason, lots of people are uncomfortable making that distinction.
Yeah.
Say, stop fucking rioting, you're not helping anything, is seen as kind of a racist. Like, we agree that progressives have become overly permissive with regards to violence in the street.
Say that one more time?
Progressives are overly permissive when it comes to rioting and violence.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Right.
Because it doesn't happen, right?
But even that, a progressive would say, well, so a black neighborhood isn't as
it doesn't happen where they live.
Like, to the point where you're starting to erase the experiences of black people and even their problems and how carefully in your...
Yeah, I understand. I've said this a lot, that sometimes people are so quick to try to get rid of something that they forget that they're conceding ground on arguments that they don't want to concede ground on, that they shouldn't actually, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just think that the right with Black Lives Matter is not providing the empathetic... I mean, no one is. The tension in like these political discussions is almost entirely empathy-free on both sides now about everything. So yeah, I just wanted to say that to clarify that I'm not trying to squish the will of trans people or progressives, and I'm not trying to advocate for the conservative ranting about how black people don't have fathers or fix your neighborhood or get a job or whatever. Just prescriptive, dismissive, unempathetic, you know, shit. I don't want to do that to trans people, and I'm not advocating for that.
Sure. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Well, okay. I don't know where you want to go.
Okay. Come on. Okay, getting quests done one at a time.
Well, I mean, that was your goal, right?
That was my goal. I accomplished it.
Okay, cool. Congratulations. Very good.
Thanks. Good job to you too, man.
Wow, thanks a lot. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Fuck.
Well, any final words, any parting thoughts, anything you want to leave us with, or any other questions, thoughts, concerns, comments?
Come on.
No, just
What's that? 4:44. I'm probably going to
empathize with
take
people
a break.
But you hate them also.
Oh, okay. Actually, here.
Streaming, like stop the stream and start another one.
Relevant. Here's something that's interesting. There's something called, I'll explain this for the audience, because obviously you know about this.
Yeah.
It's something called the paradox of intolerance. So an issue or the paradox of tolerance, actually. So one issue you run into is liberals will say something along the lines of, like, we should tolerate all points of view. But what do you do when you tolerate somebody who doesn't tolerate your point of view? And people are worried that there might be a paradoxical thought there where if you are tolerant of everybody, eventually there are going to be people that make it to areas of power where they use that power in a way to become intolerant. And now because you were tolerant of them, you've basically lost yourself. So this is relevant when we talk about trans people. So
yeah.
I don't know about your life. My life is definitely cushy now with how I exist. There's not really that much in the world that's very threatening to me. Regardless of political systems, whatever, there's not much that's going to fuck with me unless something like personal happens, you know? Systems
I get a lot of death threats.
Sure, yeah, I get those too, but people on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think that there might be trouble sometimes? So when you talk about like, oh, you know, just be chill, understand people disagree, like that's cool. Do you think that that might be more difficult when somebody feels like the stakes are significantly higher when it comes to the conversation that's happening?
Yeah, that's why I said don't punch Nazis, because I'm a Jew. So I get to play the, like, you know, family died in the Holocaust, and I would be right there with them card to make it have a little more weight, I think.
What if there was a Nazi political party in the United States that had, like, say, 25% favorability? They weren't like the majority, but there was like a sizable chunk of people. Would you ever look at that kind of sideways and be like, Or do you just
I would be super concerned about it, but I would, again, free speech and democracy have to come first. Do you know about the case of the neo-Nazis wanting to march through the Jewish community in Skopje?
A lot of people are not like that. A lot of people.
And the Jews at the ACLU represented their right to free speech. And that's...
A lot of people are not like that. They will be like, oh, you disagree, or you have, you don't. People just don't value rights of other people if they start saying shit that they don't like. That's kind of just what happens. That's kind of what I'm used to. Are you in favor of free speech? Yeah. Are you in favor of trans people telling kids about hormones or something? No. It's just like, okay, so you're not actually in favor of free speech. And the same thing for other people. Are you in favor of free speech? Yeah. So this Nazi should be able to speak out of college, and you should be able to accept that. Even if you're not happy with it, you should be able to accept that, right? No. It's like, I just rather all the people just say I don't believe in free speech. Just why can't you say that? Like, if you don't believe in it, you don't believe in it. Why are we doing this bullshit?
The ACLU often takes hyper-progressive stances that I disagree with, but I'll always give them credit for that. That's how I feel. I would be disagreeing with the Nazis' views and fighting for their right to express them.
How would you feel if there were like pogroms going on where you've got these Nazi people in office and now like Jewish stores and places are being destroyed and shit, and they still want to go out and give speeches and stuff? Like maybe your own house hasn't been destroyed or anything, but now like you're starting to see violence against Jewish people. Like, do you still kind of have the same blasé attitude towards it? It's like, oh, you know,
you could put a shotgun in my mouth and I'm still not going to give up the First Amendment. Like, yes, I still believe this. I'm willing to sacrifice quite a lot for.
Do you think that most freedom. People would have that stance, or
no?
Okay. Because I think when you talk about like,
okay, that's why it's so hard to alter the Constitution, because most people don't even believe in free speech for other people. They believe in it for themselves. So we have to protect whatever we think is the most abhorrent, destructive views. Well, first of all, I don't think punching Nazis stops them. I think that actually might help them.
Potentially, but that's boring. Let's not
especially like with somebody like Trump. Like I really don't like Trump.
Sure.
I think he's kind of a Nazi, not in necessarily his beliefs about race, but his authoritarian, just wanting to control everything.
For sure,
right?
He's definitely kind of like a fashy dude. Maybe not full on, but like, yeah, for sure. I can agree with that.
He would go if he could go full on. He would.
Absolutely.
He's a probing Nazi. He's not going to lead the charge, but if somebody says, "Hey, you're the dictator of everything," our ideal president, I think, is someone like George Washington, who gets offered power and says, "Nah, that's not a good idea." Trump is not going to do that.
Yeah.
His victimhood is so much of what gives him power. So, one, strategically, I don't think it's good to punch Nazis because they get people feeling sorry for them, and especially now. Anybody who can claim they're a victim is like immediately hoisted up, retweeted the fuck out of, or whatever. But ideologically,
so
I
don't think couple socks, icicle. I don't
even agree that it's not even a trade-off for me. Like, I don't think if you start assassinating the leaders of the political party you're talking about or throwing them in jail, I don't think that helps. I think that just makes things worse anyway. So.
Yeah, sure, but that's the boring part. Because I largely agree with you. But what I'm more interested in, because for the Jewish thing, it's one thing, but when you look at people like trans people or maybe other minority groups, I think some of the issues that these people feel is that while you and I can have an incredibly detached and dispassionate conversation about these things, it's because nothing is really at stake for us that much, aside from things like, I don't want to say transgender women, fuck that, But at the end of the day, it's not super destroying our lives. Whereas the people on the other end of the conversation,
I feel that it is.
Not nowhere near as much as it's impacting the other people who may or may not get treatment or medications or something, right?
I think the impact is less immediate, but I feel like this is part of what I'm asking of the audience, to empathize with the people pushing back against this beyond. It's not just I don't feel like saying this. It feels like a visceral violation of my rights.
Well, here's a question. Do you think that whether or not a gay person could be married or free of judgment in society, do you think that there is much at risk for them as a person that's uncomfortable with gay people in society?
I think the individual has more risk, but the other people think they're going to go to hell.
Well, they're going to go to hell whether the gay people are going to go. I don't know if really people think they're going to hell if other people around them are gay, right?
I think there are some religious people who think that our society is going to go.
More people to go.
Our kids are going to be in concentration camps. We'll get smote from the earth. I do think that there are religious people who believe strongly that something very bad is going to happen to them if they allow gay marriage.
Okay.
I just don't. I get what you're saying, and like practically, I don't believe that. I don't agree with them. But from their point of view, they're not just doing it for no reason. Like they're actually really upset.
No, I'm sure they have their reasons. Yeah, I know.
And I think they're pushing that.
Even if I grant all of that. Even if I grant every single thing you're saying that they do believe it, right? We can still say at the end of the day, though, there's a difference between this kind of like theological harm that maybe you're gonna versus like my life right now is materially fucked and negatively impacted versus whether or not you think your future progeny is going to heaven or hell. No.
No, I don't agree with your dismissiveness. Also, you're comparing me to a Nazi.
Wait, how am I comparing you to a Nazi?
Well, you're in this example. I am the oppressor, right?
Well, no, I'm just saying that in general.
For trans people, the way trans people look at me is they say, this guy's spreading these ideas. He wants to take our medications away. I am the Nazi in this example, right?
Well, I mean, it's not like a direct one-to-one comparison. I'm just saying that in terms of the
Okay.
I'm saying that our relationship to this conversation is that of a relatively detached and
I'm
unaffected
just trying to
party.
fill out the analogy. In this analogy, I am the oppressor of trans people spewing my hateful ideas, right?
Well, that's a really loaded way to say it.
I'm not going to freak out.
No, I'm not, I don't. But that's not even necessary. I'm just saying that like we're having a conversation. We can. How about this? We can move off of this conversation. We can talk about abortion. So there's not as low.
No, I don't want to.
So like when it comes to abortion, whether or not abortions are legal or
agree
illegal.
with you.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you. I hate what you're saying, man.
What is that? That some people are affected more by this conversation than we are.
That you can dismiss the feelings.
I'm not saying we dismiss them, but I'm saying that there's a clear. It's not there, but there's a weight between one and the other.
I don't think you should weigh them.
But you
I think
have
that
to.
I don't agree. I disagree with you strongly. I think that if I believe that my neighbor, okay, say every couple months, one of my neighbors takes a baby, puts it on their front lawn, cuts its head off with a pair of garden shears.
Okay.
And I'm like, hey, can somebody stop this? I can't take it anymore. And then all these women come out and say, well, you know what?
Jesus, I've been trying to pause that for a minute. It would depend on how many people, like, literally everything else. The older I get, everything just feels like it gets more and more and more and more closer to it. Depends. It depends on how many people have a problem with it, honestly. And as dissatisfying as that sounds. Like, be like, well, these people are directly affected. But there's also like downstream effects and what it means to like for example, the trolley problem, where it's just like you have a train coming, you have one track that has 5 people tied to it, another track that has 3 people tied to it. Do you hit the lever? It's gonna hit the 5 people. Do you hit the lever to hit the 3 people instead of the 5 people? If you say yes, not only are you saying that you want to save save more people, you're saying we can make the decision to save more people instead of less, even if that means people dying. Like, that's the implication. That implication can't just be ignored because it's like, are you saying we should save less people? It's like that. So even if they're in that scenario, there are more people that are affected, just like directly. But like what it means for the reverberations throughout society, that's going to be a totally different. Yeah, it's going to be completely different. And it's like, from MrGirl's point of view, you can't just discount that and be like, well, other people are dealing with the issue directly. We have to prioritize just what they're saying. Well, not even just what they're saying, like prioritize that over all of society. And I feel like that's the actual argument here.
You'll never give birth, so you don't get to have a say in this. I'm like, well, you don't care. You don't care about the baby. I do. I am being hurt by this more than you are. And they're like, no, yeah? Well, I was going to have to raise this baby, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're cutting the heads off in front of me, man. I can't deal with this. I would say in that example, I think that is how some pro-life people feel.
Sure, and I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying that you can't have a feeling about it at all, or that it doesn't affect you at all.
You're saying it should not be. You're saying it should be.
I'm saying that there's a different. Yes,
when we're doing the big scale of like, okay, so.
Here, I can give a real example of this. You and your girlfriend, are you still dating?
Yeah.
Okay. There might be
I'd wear her fucking shirt if we weren't dating.
Maybe you're wearing a shirt, she died, and I was about to say something really stupid. Okay, I don't know. Fuck. Your shirt says like save somebody on it. Maybe she had fucking breast cancer, now she's dead, and that's
save Shayla. No, the shirt is save her from me.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah. That's what okay, so yes, I am checking.
That's what I assume.
So
save her from
let's say
me.
that you two are having a conversation about where you want to go to eat. Now, let's say that she suggests I want to go to an Indian restaurant, and you don't really want to go to an Indian restaurant. What?
This is perfect. This is what happens. She likes Indian food, and I hate it.
Yeah, and you're like, I want to go to a steakhouse, or just get fucking burgers, who cares, right? Maybe something like that, right? Now, let's say that it's something where like you don't actually care that much. You'll eat Indian food, it's whatever. But let's say she feels really strongly about it. If I have a relationship, I do have a relationship. If I have a disagreement in my relationship, I'm probably going to bend to the other person if it's something they feel really strongly about. And
what if they always feel really strongly about it?
Well, then we have to get into the validity of how that issue impacts them.
And you become erased.
Well, then you have to be careful. Well, I don't think that that's the case here. Now, trans people started to say that like we can't have 3D graphics anymore in video games. Then maybe, but
fuck them.
Yeah, then fuck them. But we're not at that point yet, thankfully. The trans agenda hasn't gotten all that far up, so we don't have to worry about it yet.
Well, when you put it that way, they seem entirely reasonable.
Exactly. But I'm just saying that like other people are.
I feel like I agree with Destiny here, but it's going to be there are a lot of people who are just going to only be able to understand or interpret what he's saying as there are some people you should just give a less of a fuck about. It's just going to come off like that.
There are going to be things where you do have an emotional state.
You gotta make some kind of.
Other people are going to be affected by things more than you are. That we should probably be able to agree on, right?
I don't.
Abortion will affect women more than men, even if men can have a very strong statement in it. And I am super sympathetic towards men that have strong feelings about it.
I don't agree with that. I agree with that in statistically on average, but I do not agree that every single trans person feels more strongly about this than I do.
Probably not every single one, but the majority of them.
I believe I've talked to trans people who are less passionate about this issue and actually might even feel less impacted by it than I do.
There probably are some, but if we speak in averages, because we have to, because that's how society works, is in averages, right? The average trans person is probably...
That's a big leap.
Well, no, we have to, because we can't...
I don't agree. And I think we shouldn't speak in averages.
But we can have
that's racist.
No, to have any meaningful conversation about policy, we have to speak in averages, because we talk to whole groups
I don't think
of people.
this conversation needs to be so reductive that it matches up like a politician having a meaningful conversation.
Well, it's not about politics, it's just we have to be able to have meaningful...
We're at the sacrifice of nuance.
Well, we need to be able to have a meaningful conversation about groups of people, meaning we can't talk about
I'm talking about individuals. I don't want us. I don't.
No, but I agree. But we're talking about. Are we talking about individuals or an individual? There's a difference there, right? You can't talk about multiple individuals ever. You're only ever talking about an individual because there is no such thing as individuals. That's a group of people. That's not one person. It's not a group of individuals. There's either a group or there's one person, right? Between you and your girlfriend, you on average both have half a dick. That doesn't make any sense, right? One of you has a penis and one of you, well, I'm
I think we're at least...
Maybe you're at 0.75, okay, sure. But I'm saying that between the two of you, on average, right, you have half of a uterus, you both on average have half a penis, you both on average have half a ball sack, but that doesn't really make any sense, right?
You're confusing me by talking about my balls, but continue. You're distracted.
I'm just saying that
trying to get me to...
what I'm trying to say is that, like, if we're talking about an individual, that's going to be different than talking about groups of people. When we're talking about groups of people, we have to use averages and stuff, because it doesn't make sense to say,
oh, yeah,
every single individual person.
Okay.
We can't do that. We have to talk about averages. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I just don't think about listening that way. When I say we should listen to men about abortion, I don't mean the coalition of men. I mean, if you're at a dinner party and a man starts talking about abortion, I don't think it's right to say this doesn't affect you. Shut the fuck up. But that's what happens.
I agree with you. I think that's true.
Right. So then when you say men don't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect men as much. On average, yeah. But one problem is that people then use that fact as a tool to silence the individual.
Sure, I agree that some people do that as well. And then when you talk in averages,
you are doing it. How you're saying that this doesn't affect me.
Beat up some reindeer. Let's do it.
No, I was speaking about society. It might be that you personally have incredibly strong feelings that you're ready to go to war about.
I am.
Yeah, okay, that might be the case. In which case, that's fine. But my question isn't about you particularly. I'm not as interested in talking about a society that's modeled around just you. It's about everybody, right? That's typically what we talk about.
What's your question?
Well, my initial point, I guess, very roundabout way what we're trying to get to is I was saying that generally trans people and other marginalized groups probably feel like they have a lot more at stake in these conversations. So it's harder for them to just have a kind of blasé, like, oh, well, let's just wait and see how things go. Maybe we try this. Because there's a lot more at stake for them in these conversations than for somebody like you and I, who isn't going to be determined whether or not we get like a medical treatment or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think that is used to... I think the problem with a complex psychological issue, it's not even that. Like, I think there's a lot of value. Okay, so yeah, the downside to listening to people who are not in your group that shares your concerns is they might not give a shit, and they might just be saying it because they don't want to deal with you. And I would say that's actually true of people who advocate for your group as well. That's the problem of listening to
your so loud.
Your allies have so much social pressure on them.
So
to be your
many
allies, they might not actually be your allies. They might be placating you, so they don't have to listen to you or talk to you. And with BLM, I think we both agree. Again, the allies are like when Nike changes its logo to a black square in a show of allyship, they're also dodging a bullet and trying to make some money.
Sure.
And that happens on an individual level as well.
Okay, yeah, that could be the case. Yeah, sure.
What just tell me what to say, I'll say. And that's not necessarily a loving or empathetic stance, even if the thing they're saying happens to be what you want to hear.
Sure, that could be the case, yeah.
It is the goddamn case. And I think that when it comes to trans people...
Icicle card.
Yes,
I gotta kill these reindeer,
some
though.
trust that I am speaking from a place of genuine empathy and care, and that it's not a dismissal. And the downside to that is like, yeah, you're hearing, it might not be true.
Oh, it's the penguin. I was like, what is this blue thing? I'm like, oh.
And yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I might even believe
beating up penguins
I might actually
and
even believe you. But then earlier in this conversation, you said that the problem, though, is that there's a lot of vitriol from the other side that doesn't feel that same way. It doesn't come from a caring place or an empathetic place. It comes from an incredibly hateful place.
Yeah.
So I think that's the scary part about how some of those conversations play out, that people aren't looking out for what's the best, more just what satisfies my desire the most. And for some of those people who are looking to satisfy their desires the most, they're not even really intimately affected by it, like the same way that a trans person might be, whether or not they can live in the body of their choosing or something.
Yeah. Well, also, yeah, and like what trans person wants to hear potentially transphobic person number 9999 explain their nuanced view when the other 10,000 have turned out to be, oh, you just hate trans people.
Yeah.
It's under, yeah, I guess. When I'm saying don't punch Nazis and like empathize with your detractors or whoever you think.
I need to go take a smoke break.
That
over the puff
it's
puff.
understandable to want to dismiss those people, especially if you feel psychologically fragile the way many trans people report feel.
Oh, man.
I understand why you want to be like, no, I want to listen to this shit. I guess I just mean.
The thing is, like, the thing that upsets me is it's kind of like no one What Mr. Girl's saying here is correct. It's just like there's no like people aren't concerned with. People are concerned with what would make a better society, but they already have their own assumptions baked in on into what would be better for society. So it's like even if you have like, hey, you know, a world where people feel more, open to be able to explore themselves without judgment. Like, no, that's worse because if people explore themselves without judgment, they'll be more likely to do, casual sex and do drugs and avoid their responsibilities and be lazy and it's just like, what view do you have about people like that they wouldn't be able to be responsible enough to like, I don't know, to learn about themselves in a healthy way to where like imagine someone like never learned about themselves and then they wasted 20 years of their life doing some shit. But if they only took a moment to learn about themselves, look inward and reflect and like be who they are, they would be happier. You would be advocating against that because whatever their idea of what would make them happier, you're saying is necessarily destructive to society, which is kind of like you have to demonstrate that. It can't just be like this amorphous, like you're destroying the fabric of society. How? Are people losing jobs? Are families being ended? Are people dying? Are people losing money? Are people, I don't know, are institutions collapsing? Like you gotta give something more than just this broad, you're destroying the culture.
To the extent that you can tolerate hearing out like a white supremacist explain why you need to be in a concentration camp. It's not, or dead. It's not the most pleasant thing to listen to, but I think that is our only path forward out of extreme polarization.
Sure, and I generally agree because I'm a really big free speech guy. I'm also a very, very big free speech guy.
I've heard that about you.
Yeah.
Your reputation precedes you.
Thank you, yes. But, and this is something that conservatives always seem to miss, and it really triggers the fuck out of me. Not saying you're a conservative, by the way, but for people that tend to advocate for free speech, is to quote the philosopher Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And it seems like people want sometimes all of the privilege of freedom of speech, but they won't take a look at the cost sometimes. And free speech, you must acknowledge, it does have great costs. Absolutely. I
am conservative on this issue. Well, conservatives don't respect like freedom of the press. In my opinion.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah.
So that's my main gripe with them.
Yeah.
Free speech. But I think it is chilling free speech. I don't even like the word responsibility.
Well, when I say responsibility, what I mean is there is a cost. Like, here's something, right? The NSA and the CIA would probably prevent 100% of terrorist attacks if we let them tap every single device and give them unlimited access to information. But
theoretically,
yeah, they probably could. But that's not a trade-off. It's not one I'm willing to make. I'm guessing it's probably not one that you're willing to make. We accept that, like, we're going to have some trouble in society.
Freedom and security.
Yeah, but that's a cost of the freedom of speech that we have. That's just part of the game. But we accept that.
Okay, so you're not saying the response. When you say you should use your free speech responsibly, you're saying that from a moral perspective.
Oh no, I'm not even saying you should use it responsibly. You didn't be crazy with it, but at the very least, you must acknowledge that there are some harms that come about as a result of that.
Of talking? Yeah, I think talking can be hard.
Yeah, and the issue I have is that just like how on the left, sometimes people can say everything is all, daisies and rainbows. For instance, like when it comes to abortions, people on the left don't ever talk enough about how hard it is to have an abortion. It's one of the biggest reasons why people that are pro-choice become pro-life. Is because they have an abortion, and then when they go online, they see a bunch of dipshit women who've never been pregnant in their lives talk about how great abortion is, and they've just had an incredibly fucking traumatic experience, and then they're like, this is actually horrible. I'm pro-life now. I don't ever want anybody to experience this. But on the flip side,
no room for bad feelings.
Yeah, on the flip side, conservatives will say things where they're like, or remember how earlier you're like, nobody can accept that like being fat is bad. You want to over-accommodate everything. But like conservatives do it a little bit too when it comes to free speech. No, there's no downside to free speech. It's awesome. Everything is great. It's like, well, no, there are actually some people that can be harmed by things, some bad ideas, some bad movements, some bad things can come out of freedom of speech. But we have to accept that those are the trade-offs. That like, well, we want freedom of speech, but there's going to be some harm caused by it. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. So all I would ask for, and I'm not even, this isn't like necessarily super directed at you, because it seems like you kind of understand. It's like, you have to acknowledge, I'm using you in the general form, not you.
Nope, no one's going to do that. Everyone has their own point of view, and there are no downsides to my point of view, but I somehow have fully analyze all the downsides to your point of view because I'm honest and a locker.
Like, I think it has to be acknowledged that like conversations relating to somebody's existence or their access to like medical care is always going to be a far more like intimately effective, or a conversation that affects them more than an external party having it where you don't actually have that same incredibly intimate experience with that thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
I agree with that, but I think that can also give people a better perspective.
Which part of that? Or what do you mean? Oh, to hear like an outside person's like their perspective.
If I'm gonna have a midlife crisis and spend all my money on NFTs, having somebody who doesn't know what an NFT even is at the beginning of the conversation talk to me about it could actually be more beneficial than having somebody who is also super affected by NFTs.
It's possible, yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying that it's not. I don't think that inherently means that an outsider's opinion
is worthless.
Is less valuable.
Yeah,
it's just different. I agree.
I agree. But sometimes having the internal perspective is
I think the problem comes when people who haven't had the experience will discount the experiences of those who have. We're like, hey, I just ran into a racist police officer. They're not racist. What are you talking about? They're not racist. How do you know that racist? They're just like their idea of just like they won't even like the idea of a racist police officer is just like for some reason like personally offensive to them. So where it's just like, hey man, there can be there are assholes come in all shapes and sizes. What are you saying to where like, nope, there are no racist police. I just like that there are racist humans. It's just a numbers game. There's going to be some set of police officers that are in fact racist. As much as you don't like that, you're going to be racist construction workers, racist politicians, racist principals at schools. Like, yes, these people exist and they're out here. Yes, I don't project your own kindness onto other people. It's like, well, I'm not racist. Great for you. Doesn't mean everyone is like that. Like,
sometimes more important. Generally, it's more valuable, right?
I think what's particularly annoying about the way I talk about trans people is that I do keep mentioning my emotional experience because it is a strong one, and I actually do really care emotionally.
Which is fine.
People, but also about my own life. Like, I do feel really horrified by what I see, the political steamrolling of various like academic fields. It freaks me out, and it scares me seeing a future where placation of everyone becomes the norm, and like there's no place for me. That I do feel constricted by it, and yes, it is broader, and it's not entering my doctor's office, but it does affect me, and I don't think that should be discounted.
I agree. I think that's fair.
You're just saying it should be noted that it doesn't affect me as much or as immediately. Or
at the very least, note the effects of the other side. If you don't want to weigh them, at least understand that while you're having a conversation about your personal comfort or discomfort in living in a certain society, the other person is having a conversation about like their medical future. But at the very least, that's what's at stake for them.
I think that if I'm talking to a trans person, I'm definitely not going to talk about it the same way I'm talking about it with you because of what you said. I agree that a certain awareness and sensitivity needs to be brought.
You hear that? That's called grifting.
Brought into the conversation when you're talking about whatever, any topic with the marginalized person that the topic affects.
Sure, yeah, I think, sure. Okay, yeah.
Hey, one hit, I got that, dude. His health bar is like 30 times his size.
I don't think so.
We're 2 levels away from some stronger equips. 2 levels away, baby. Or at that point, we'll be like 20 levels away. I'm gonna look that real quick.
Okay. What do you normally do on your channel?
I just released a rap album.
A rap album?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I made the Cuties review, and everybody called me a pedophile. Then I made a music video called "I'm a Pedophile," which was a parody of Eminem's "I'm a Criminal."
Okay.
And then everybody's like, "Oh, this is like Weird Al. This is funny," and blah. And I was like, "Fuck you." So then I made a real rap song that I just wrote myself, and then people were like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" And then I made a whole rap album. But simultaneously to this, I was making videos about gender and videos about Kyle Rittenhouse, just like kind of political essays. And now I'm working on a video about Stone Toss's NFT release.
Oh god, do you hate NFTs or do you love NFTs?
I'm starting to hate them. The more every time I get invited to a new NFT Discord, I hate them a little more.
Why do you hate them so much?
The extreme opportunity for market manipulation and dishonesty and lack of transparency. What I've come to is the people who love NFTs, like the libertarians who love NFTs and who hate communism, ironically, are relying on the goodwill and good intentions and morality of their fellow man. When who knows who's bought a board?
See, here's the thing. You know what? Here's a question about communism. A lot of people say they don't like communism. Native Americans, before the whole European colonization, all that, Native Americans lived a communist lifestyle. It wasn't like any one particular person was in charge or the leader. You may have like a village elder or a village chief, but everyone works together. You got some people that hunt, got some people that gather, got some people that build and make things, you got some people that get water, some people that cook the food. Like, everyone works together and like everyone gets a piece of the pot. Why is that not communism? Or does it require a government? Or can we only look at wouldn't that be an example of communism? Well, you could say, well, there aren't any more tribes now. It's just like, yeah, but how? Okay. If that's the case, then feudalism didn't work. Monarchies didn't work. You could say that about any governmental or societal cultural trend over the years of human society. Well, we don't have it now, so it didn't work. And it was like, regardless of it didn't work, wouldn't you still call that communism? Doesn't that count as communism? I feel like people will say that's not real communism. Communism is when millions of people die. And it's like, okay, well, fun conversation.
No one has ever bought a Bored Ape. How much does it cost to give the appearance of buying a Bored Ape? $50.
Sure. Have you ever heard of the term like painting the tape?
No.
A long time ago, when stocks were traded, there was a little ticker, or there was a printer that actually like printed out every time a new trade happened. And to give the illusion, there's a lot of activity around a stock. You might buy and sell it or trade it between two different people.
Oh, crack the fuck out my neck.
And it's what you're expecting. Yeah, so when you have somebody buying something, like to generate like a false interest about it and stuff like that.
So
Yeah.
with NFTs, with anonymous wallets, you can draw the price history graph to look like whatever you want, and it only costs the gas fees to draw a dot. So if you have a lot of money and influence, or you have a lot of money to launder anyway, you could just buy 3,000 Bored Apes from yourself, and then you have the apes and the money. Like, so people have to be doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know who, I don't know where, I don't know how to figure it out, but I really want to. What I'm coming to is that it has to be some sort of statistical pattern that arises, some mistake, or an insider who's going to talk to me.
Oh, that
So
reindeer candy, bitch.
I'm convinced that if there's any funny business going on,
Oh, we got
with
10
NFT,
already.
it's sold
Awesome. We need 25 in total. 10's
He's
not
got
bad.
200,000 followers. The guy ain't that famous. I don't get it. But maybe, but I also am just I'm naive. So maybe it's true. I don't know. I want to figure it out. I'm convinced that if there is any business going on, he doesn't know about it.
Okay.
He was approached by a team that does NFT releases, and I've been approached by somebody who does NFT releases to ask me if I want to make an NFT, and that we didn't get to the business part because I got uncomfortable. But I've seen multiple artists tweeting out, "Hey, stop asking me if I want to do NFT projects." It seems that there are lots of people going around telling us, or YouTubers with like, whatever, and maybe this has happened to you.
I
Sure,
need to
people
get
have to be approaching.
Yeah, there's a lot of I did a sponsor once for a site called eternal.gg. It was a fun one.
Okay.
And then I get a lot of like.
I need to
personal
get a
emails,
seat
but,
cover.
Yeah,
Because
like
my
you want
ass
to do an NFT
hurt.
project.
Yeah, but yeah,
you
it's
all
this
the development,
metal
and
ass,
you give us
hard
some
ass
percentage.
shit.
Yeah, basically. Or like sites where it's like we've already got like a thing reserved with your name. You just have to claim this, and then you can do this.
Yeah, right. Free money. So at the end of the Stone Toss release, the wallet that was collecting all the money paid out $1 million to one wallet and a third of $1 million to 3 other wallets. And I was like, okay, so is that your development team? And he said, I don't want to answer that.
Okay.
Then he cashed out the wallet. The big wallet sat.
I'm a development
for 2
team.
weeks.
I don't want to answer
He cashed
that.
out that. I assume StoneToss cashed out that wallet, and then the same day was in a Twitter space in public listening to advice about paying taxes on your NFTs.
Okay.
So I have to assume that's him, and then that I have a high degree of confidence, but can't say for sure that the developers got the other half. So like,
Oh, okay, yeah, that was great.
I don't like NFTs because nobody knows what the fuck is going on. It's easy to lie to people, and if you can lie to people, you will lie to people. I don't understand how those people square that with communism doesn't work because people are too corrupt. But NFTs, when you can draw the price graph for $50 a point, these are solid investment. It just until the technology is being used for something.
What, Max? People don't have a principled position. They just can't say something doesn't work and something does work. They got to be like, well, this works because of this, and this works and it doesn't work because of that, even if it's the same fucking reason. What? No.
It makes more sense. It just feels, not even by design. I'm sure lots of people aren't even trying to be evil. It's like a pyramid scheme, though. Just in its structure and in what I think is going to happen at the end.
It feels like there might be some cool utilities for NFTs, but right now everybody's just trying to like buy and sell and like trade scam each other. They're saying like, oh, if you buy this, you'll become rich, or if you do this, like you can sell this in the future.
Yeah.
I'm like, I agree with
And it's
that.
just fucking. It's just the people who you are talking into buying these NFTs are not rich, and the people talking them into it are.
Yeah,
Like
that's
watching Logan Paul and Mr. Beast talk about CryptoPunks, and like they told the story about this call where this like guy had all these billionaires on the call and was like, no, seriously, you gotta buy them, and like he convinced them all to buy like 5 or 10 each, and they're like, oh, they did pretty well, and it's like, yeah, they did well, and then you sold them. That's a pump and dump. It just.
Do you feel the same way about
They did well in
cryptocurrency in
it.
general?
Yes, except crypto. I feel the same way more about crypto, like not Bitcoin as a whole, but when someone starts a new cryptocurrency.
Yeah, the rug
right?
pulls, the new crypto.
The rug pulls, because you have to have a lot of money now to manipulate the entire like Bitcoin like
to do Bitcoin,
marketplace.
Ethereum, any of the Bitcoins is going to be a lot more difficult. Yeah,
Exactly, but an NFT, it feels like it's Ethereum, but it's not.
because it's on the Ethereum
It's,
chain.
It's on the Ethereum chain, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's
Yeah.
a new currency with limited tokens. It's entirely under the control of one person who may or may not have enough money to dictate the price that you see when you want to buy it. And what makes all this worse is that almost all of this, every purchase of an NFT usually involves one or more parasocial
They're
relationships
super hot.
that the audience member
Where's
has
the
with
fan?
streamers or creators who they believe that they know, they believe that they love, they believe that they can trust,
I think I know.
looking out for their best interest, looking them in the eye, and telling them, I think this is really going to go up.
Yeah,
this
sure.
is what's best for you. You really should do this.
I don't have anything flat
very
for this to sit
Yeah, yeah,
on.
And then,
So
and
I
then
don't
none of
have
the
to-
people buying it or any of the people really, even the people selling it don't even really know
Jesus.
what it is. If you ask them, like,
No,
yeah.
no, it's a receipt
It's loud as
with
fuck.
possible other things written into it. And so I don't have the arguments of like, why would anybody buy? Like, I get that digital collecting can be cool, and it's a cool idea, and that it could have utility. But there's so much room for fraud and manipulation that you might think it's cool, but all the things that you see that made you think it was cool, that made you think other people think it was cool, could all be entirely fabricated. You might be the only person.
That's the dude. You didn't even watch YouTube shorts and see a video of somebody saving a wild animal, and then you find out that the first half of the video was a wild animal, and the second half of the video cuts to a domesticated animal that would normally be considered wild. And I'm like, this person went out into the wilderness and got this wild animal and domesticated them. It's like, it's fate. It's two different animals. It's the same species, but two different animals. You're lying to people.
Earth who has ever genuinely bought an NFT, and you have no way to know that unless you personally know somebody else who has done it, and that's freaky. Yeah. So that's I'm working on that now. It's like a detective movie.
Well, good luck with that one.
Thanks.
Be careful, stay safe.
Oh,
I'm gonna chat with another guy come outside to abandon you. Okay.
I understand. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Okay, that's one video. Just about.
Wow, what a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that the Surf is talking to a dude, but I'm supposed to talk to Mr. Beard. Oh, I have to do this.
You can't stop what happens in my head. Till I'm dead, I'll be singing.
I can fantasize about whatever I want.
You can't stop what
How's
happens
your girlfriend feel
in
like?
my head.
Or feel about this?
I was thinking about her too.
Until I'm dead.
I think. Hey.
Hey, is what horses eat.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Okay. How do I? Very new to this.
Hi, it's
I
what
can't
I
see
like to
you.
get.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Okay. Sounds like you problem.
Is that my fault?
Check on Discord, like click user settings and go through everything and make sure that they're set up correctly. I'm pretty good. How are you going?
I'm pretty good. How was League of Legends?
Oh, it's fucking horrible. Don't ever play that. God, for sake of fucking game. Okay. Don't do it to yourself.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. Well, you've heard correct. Whoever informed you of that informed you with due diligence because they were absolutely correct.
Beating up penguins.
All right. So
next conversation.
you do. What are we talking about? How do you want to start this?
I don't, you messaged me.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
man.
Okay, yeah, so here's the...
Always with the power plays. All right.
Here's the... I'm like when Trump shakes people's hands, you guys are ripping forward, you know?
Right. I know.
So here's kind of what I'm interested in, I guess. So
Okay.
you have a real-life history of being pretty... We'll say
Edgy?
I think it's fair,
Yeah.
That's fair.
And then you have kind of an online history of being pretty edgy. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
And now you're kind of sort of transitioning into...
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see, I guess. Into doing
All
more...
the reindeer
online
milk. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I make a YouTube video or something every week or two, approximately.
But now it seems like the public backlash, it feels different this time. I think a lot of people's assumptions would be that somebody of your background would be like, oh, public shit doesn't bother me, I don't care. I'm invulnerable to all of it. Yeah, I guess how do you feel about everything?
I'm not invulnerable. I feel like you're not invulnerable, right?
I mean, none of us truly are, but I'm pretty thick-skinned against it at this point. I've been doing this for like 12 years, so.
Okay.
But I'm
Yeah,
outside the norm. A lot of people have trouble with, at any level, like dealing with online stuff. It's a pretty inhuman thing to deal with. We're not used to seeing strangers making personal, hateful comments about us online constantly.
Right. Yeah. We're not evolved to deal with that.
Okay.
I'm definitely not invulnerable at all.
that whole
gets
quest
to me.
line.
It's not so much the comments themselves, but the sheer
Complaints.
volume of it. I think what bothers me is just the non-stop stimulus.
Okay.
And then yeah, the hate is disturbing. Death threats are disturbing. Honestly, I think fans might scare me more than haters.
Why do you say that?
Because I don't know, just being worshipped freaks me out.
Okay, that's fair. What is your process by which you go through and read online comments?
Just compulsively. I don't have a process.
Okay, let me phrase that more casually. Do you like obsessively read every comment about you, like on your YouTube, Twitter, and everything else, or is it just like somebody links you something and you read it, or?
I obsessively read every comment because there's not that many. So like there's right. Like I mean on YouTube I still only get like 50 comments a day or something. It's not like an endless flood.
Yeah.
With the cuties thing, when the cuties review came out, I was getting a comment every 3 seconds or something. I assume that's what it's like for you, right? It's like it must just be constant.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's actually possible
wrists.
to read every single comment or tweet for me still at this point. Maybe not advisable, but it is
Okay.
possible.
Were you doing that during the cuties fallout?
No, I
Yeah.
made a couple of my friends become mods, and I was like, anybody who talks about killing me, finding me, doxing me, whatever, ban them, and like everybody else, like whatever. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
Because then I felt like I had to read them because I was scared. It wasn't even curious. I was like, I need to know how serious these like neo-Nazi like psychos are about like finding me and killing me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We'll go back. We'll just keep killing.
Do you feel like you're hitting that?
I was gonna go back and like hold all the items so I know just how many I have, but fuck it.
Overwhelming pointing out, or what's different now? I guess you made it seem like the impression.
No, it was horrible. I couldn't handle it then either. I completely fell apart. I was not in good shape at all. Now I feel like yeah, I feel exhausted.
For reference, when was that? How long ago was that?
That was a year ago.
Okay. Did you like change?
I was banned for 4 months right after, so like I kind of had to take a big step back because I had no channel anymore.
If I was receiving a bunch of negative comments on videos and shit, I'd probably just make a video out of it and monetize their hate. And then eventually they're gonna be like, wow, every time I hate on this guy, he makes money off of it. So now you're in a rock and a hard place. You can hate on me if you want to, but every insult is another dollar in my pocket. Then how you gonna act?
That'll do it. Yeah. Do you feel like you have changed anything in terms of the way you approach online comments, or are you just like, fuck it, I haven't really thought about it that much, and we'll see what happens?
I don't think I've changed anything. My goal is to like have a set number of times I check comments. Also, I think when you're at like a smaller channel, you have to interact a lot.
For sure.
I think it's more expected. I think
it can be beneficial to growth, right? If somebody's got 1,000 subs and you're commenting on their channel, they might respond to you. Yeah.
Right, and like I still want to respond to comments, but I feel like after a certain point of like inertia, like I won't have to.
Yeah, for sure.
And then like figuring out how much I should, like how much of that is good for me versus bad for me.
Okay. That's fair.
One hit.
Do you ever respond to comments? How do you do this?
I fight with people on Twitter, which is fun for me, and I mainly Twitter, and then I interact.
It would be really fun to argue with a person online. That'd be great.
I love my channel on streaming. YouTube comments are a little bit beyond me at this point, because you just don't have the time to dig through and respond. I'll read through them. At least the top rated comments on my videos. Yeah. Because it's going to keep a thumb on the pulse of what people want.
Right.
More importantly, though, I think it's important at some point to make considerations not to, everybody overlooks this, but not to optimize for content or for engagement, but to optimize for mental health. Because there might be only so many,
Okay, you're saying you fight with people on Twitter for fun.
Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier. So my engagement is kind of strange because I super love conflict. Like, there are like videos of me like being in the debate room, like everybody's going at me and shit. I thrive off it. I really like that. I don't know, because it's kind of weird. So I feel a little bit different engagement I have than most people. So it's not something to molly yourself after.
Okay. Yeah.
But I have a lot of streamer friends that talk about it because I have a pretty good feel of like what the feeling is like when it comes to interacting with people on the internet and how absolutely difficult that could be.
But you're saying it's not difficult for you?
No, for just random reasons, but it's not.
Okay, I feel like it's relevant.
Well,
you're saying that we're like different species, though. You're saying.
Well, there's probably things that happen to us in childhood that make us the way we are, and I can't tell you why. If I played a different set of video games, I didn't have interactions with my parents or had school, I don't know why. For some reason,
it just makes you're invulnerable.
I don't know if I think vulnerable. I'm super not as bothered by online stuff. The way I can tell you if I think about it in my head, but that isn't enough to think about it. It's something you have to emotionally feel, I guess. But my feeling is that I know who I am. I like who I am. I know how I got information, how I do research, and I'm super confident in all of that. If somebody wants to correct me on something, I can engage with them in a critical manner. If you're using like a personal insult against me, my child, or anything in my history, it's because you know you're wrong, and that makes me feel good. That's my intellectual engagement. But you have to feel that at an emotional level. Because I can tell you like, oh, well, somebody's doing extremely personal attacks, and you just know that that's what they don't know what to say. But it's one thing to think that, it's another thing to feel that, you know.
Yeah, I don't feel that at all.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the things people say about me are probably true.
Well, you should qualify that.
Except one.
Okay, all right.
Everything except one thing. No, I don't mean like that I'm like a sick person. I actually don't care about that as much. It's more like what gets under my skin the most? I think being called a liar.
A liar about like research and politics, or a liar about your own personal feelings, or a liar about events that transpired, or what?
Yeah, so if I say something that remotely contradicts... okay, so like in the Bosch video, a lot of people said... I was explaining my mindset going into the debate with him. About his comment about child porn, how he thinks it should be legal. And then in the debate, I said, okay, yeah, I understand this is part of a broader point you were making. And they said, okay, well, so if you already knew that, then why are you saying in the video that you thought he thought it would be legal? Like, basically just saying, someone called me like a snake or a liar for that discrepancy. When the truth is, I still think he thinks child porn should be legal. I was just being super courteous in the debate. I'm like, whatever, I'm not going to debate you on positions you're not willing to stand behind. If you're changing your position now, then that's fine. And so I was saying,
the difference between, I understand what you're saying. So like, if I'm engaging with somebody, and let's say I've heard them in the past say something like black people don't deserve any help from the government. When I have a debate with that person or argument, I might ask like, so what do you think about like black people and welfare programs? Rather than trying to attack them with a prior position, I'll just ask them the question, give them a chance to clarify, and then move on from there.
Sure. And if they say, I think black people should get help from the government, then you can either say, well, that's not what you said last time, or and if it's a well-worn thing like it was with Bosch, then they're going to say like, well, yeah, that clip was totally taken out of context. Nobody understands what it means except my most ardent fans. And then there's like, there's no point in talking about it. It's not going to be an interesting conversation. It's just trying to throw it in their face. So yeah, getting called a liar for stuff like that pisses me off. Yeah, lying about my.
I think it's a matter of
I think getting called a pedophile.
So many people online are like so incredibly dishonest that if you can't just say what you think anymore, it has to be qualified because like I don't know, it's like let's say you're walking home at night and it's dark and you see a group of guys on the same side of the street as you. Do you cross the street and continue walking? If the answer is yes, well, is it messed up to them that you assume that they're going to attack you? On some level, sure, but it's just like your heuristic would show you that you need to treat them differently, or you need to, I don't know, move differently. It doesn't necessarily, I don't know, people just have their guard up.
pedophile bothers me because it implies that I'm a liar.
Sure.
Like if I was a pedophile, I would tell you.
Well, if you were a pedophile, you wouldn't. That's the problem, right?
I think I would.
No, you wouldn't. Maybe you would, but
That's what I'm saying. That's
yeah, but nobody knows that, right? We have to just we have to go by what we have dealt with other humans, right?
But that's all other humans. That's
So-
all I have, Destiny, is that I would, Steven, that I would tell you.
Sure, but nobody will. But so here's the problem, right? Is
Yeah.
I can't exist in your mind, so I can only ascertain what you believe based on what you say. And I'm using templates of other humans as I talk to you to figure that out, right? We don't go up to anybody as a blank slate. We have all these other people in mind, you know? If somebody's coming running at me and they've got a knife drawn, I'm gonna make a lot of assumptions about that person immediately, and they might just say, like, well, I'm practicing for a play in public in front of you. Or like, there's a million potential explanations, but my mind will jump to this person's running to stab me, or any other number of like things when we see people, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody, I think we said this before, but you understood this very quickly, which was nice. Sometimes I talk to a lot of fucking idiots. Like you'll get to know that more as you talk to more people. There's a lot of fucking stupid people. I said something before that breaking a social norm sometimes is a worrying thing, not because the social norm itself is important, but just the fact that you would break the social
willingness
norm.
to break social norm.
So when it comes to edgy content or content around pedophilia,
I hate social norms that people can't even explain why they exist, but they have all this like oh, they're so flabbergasted when they're okay. Why do we have a social norm? You broke it. No, okay, bro. You're too stupid to have this conversation.
pedophilia, of course, that's one of those like taboos. Like when it comes to pedophilia, all you should say publicly is, "I want to kill and murder all pedophiles because they're all evil." And if you say anything besides that, people's brains
You're
just
breaking a social norm.
yeah, people's brains just flip. So then they'll immediately box you in as like a horrible person, and then they kind of will work from there. That's your starting point. At that point, you're already really far behind, even getting to like normal human levels of respect. You're starting really, really, really far behind.
Do you think you're a trusting person?
No.
I don't think you are either. I get this impression that you don't trust people.
Yeah, I view people as I provide enough of a value to most people that I don't think they would fuck me over because either one, I have leverage on them, or two, it's just not in their best interest to. And I kind of approach all of my interactions with people like that. But I've been fucked
This
over.
concerns me about our relationship.
I give you like about 6 to 8 months until you're like a far lefty calling me a pedophile on Twitter, basically. So.
I'm worried about our relationship because of this. I sense this. I feel like you're running a bit hot and cold with me. Yeah, I want to confront you about it.
Okay, how am I running hot and cold with you?
I feel like sometimes you trust me, and in like moments, and then other times it feels like you don't trust me.
Oh, hold on. Let me be more clear in how I speak. I totally trust everything you say. You remind me of another friend I used to have. His name was Rick. You are very similar to him. And I think you're somewhat similar to me, and that I would trust you. But the way that we interact with people is very far off the norm. Incredibly far off the norm.
But you just said you give me 5 months before I'm a far lefty calling you.
Well, it's like a half joke, because every single person that I interact with online does that like backstage.
The half of that's not a joke is what is hurting me.
Oh, well, I guess we'll see. To be fair, I don't know you that well yet, and I have to...
True, we only met plus 5 or 6 days ago.
Yeah, so it would be naive of me to be like, oh, I wholly and implicitly trust completely everything about you, right?
It would be naive.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of reasons not to trust me. And me aside, I feel like, and this is starting to happen with me, like I'm getting messages from people. There's people I reached out to, like for interviews or collaborations or whatever, you know, a month or two ago, and now they're responding. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry I missed your message.
Yeah, you'll get that, yeah.
I would love to talk to you now. And I don't care.
It's like the rapper equivalent of finding out you have a whole bunch of cousins after your first album goes like fucking double platinum. Like, oh, bro, I remember you were
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Exactly. And so there's a power differential between you and me, obviously.
True.
And professionally, right? Obviously, like, you launched my career, basically. I mean, we'll see if it has a career, but you've launched it, and I think it's up to me now to, you know, continue the trajectory. But you,
Bro, if I could get on Kick or Keep just once, that would be fucking awesome. Oh man, that would be great. I would love it. That would be fun.
We'll see if it's a rocket or if it's a golf ball, but whatever it is, you have sent it up in the air for sure.
Sure.
And that, interpersonally, we can't like ignore that. Like and so I guess what bothers me is there's no way for me to convince you that I like you.
Oh, well, if it makes you feel better, one, I imagine you would, when I say you, I mean in general, I would understand that in time. But also, two, I don't really care that much. My main interest in you isn't really that you like me or don't like me. I just think you're a really interesting person. That's how I engage with it. That sounds a little bit cold. I don't mean it that way. We end up becoming friends. I'd be like,
It is cold.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's my. I'm not. Listen, okay, you know the two biggest streamers I've launched on this platform? Okay, it's fucking Vosh and Hassan. All right, that's my history of launching big streamers. I have a really bad track record right now. Okay, but yeah, it's just these aren't things that I wouldn't be overly concerned with, like trying to convince me that you're genuine, because I don't think that anybody can maintain a lie for very long. Maybe in movies.
Right, I'm time. You're saying time was. You know the Afro Man song, She Won't Let Me Fuck?
Nope, but I imagine
it says it was easy for him, but he made it hard for me.
Okay, sure.
I feel like I guess that's what Vosh did. He burned you. What happened? Do you want to tell me that? I know everybody knows. I know the broad strokes, but I guess
Sure. You really want to?
I want to know in terms of like, yeah. It's not. You're not cold. You're just.
I think I'm a really friendly person. Like,
Guarded.
behind the scenes
He's
and everything.
guarded.
But you're protecting
He's
yourself.
traumatized.
I don't ever give anybody enough rope to hang you with. But I don't think I'm like protecting myself. It's not like I'm so cold. Like I won't make friends or blah blah blah. Truthfully, the reason
I
I
know,
don't
you're
make-
saying you're only interested in me that I'm interesting, and I'm like that's cold. I want to be Eminem and Dre, and you want to be. Like,
First of all, I can't be Dre. Okay, I've already had those arguments probably before. Okay, that part will come later. Okay, we'll see. The biggest, the coolest thing to be is not boring. Okay, it's the most important thing in life. Is don't be fucking
Well,
boring. Okay.
I find that I don't like being called boring. A lot of people do call me boring because they know it'll piss me off, but I don't.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not worried.
Because I'm putting 100%.
That I'm not worried about.
Gotcha. Okay, well,
I would love to talk to this dude over
The idea
populism
of
takes.
it being increasingly
He hates
impossible to tell
populism.
whether
That
people
would be.
like me or are using me. That feels sad.
true. I mean, like
I dread that.
there are some metrics by which you can tell. So like, people that are friends with you before you get any internet fame are probably pretty friendly. I would imagine. So like your current girlfriend or fiance or whatever you guys are.
Hold up, hang on to Shaylin.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to. I'm just saying that's like an indication if somebody's friends with you beforehand. But I mean, otherwise, it's hard to ever truly really know. I think you just kind of have to look at people's histories and see like who they hang with. Again, to quote like the big rapper meme, everybody's heard that line of like, "I'm still here with who I started with," right? There's a lot of people that once they go big, all of their new friends are just popular people, and you can see that in streamers and YouTubers too. All of their new friends are always just the most other popular people on the platform. So if you see somebody that like makes friendships and maneuvers through situations like that, then there's a good chance that they're doing it with you too, which is pretty common. A lot of people do that.
Like Stardust. Fucking backstabbing, social ladder climbing sociopath. No, I'm just kidding.
I think she's generally pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like
Stardust
if
is
you're
a
small,
cool
no, I think
name,
you're
though.
genuine.
That's a cool streamer
I'm
name.
saying if you're a very small streamer and you meet another one, then I feel like it's easier to be like, it's harder to be like, are you using me? I didn't feel that, but I feel like increasingly I will become. Actually, I'm worried I'll stay naive, and then this whole thing's gonna just chew me up and spit me out, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. That's how you view it, I guess.
I'm very naive.
And again, Stardust does sound like it could be drugs. Hey man, I just got that Starbucks. Starbucks. What the fuck is my head? I just got that Stardust, son. I just got 3 grams of Stardust, baby. Come on.
Why?
I don't have a lot of friends.
How can you be
also.
naive but be aware of your naivety? How does that work?
I had a psychological evaluation that was used to allow me back into school when I got arrested for threatening to. I didn't
Wait.
actually threaten to shoot those people.
And
but
during
I
their
had to-
eval, they said this person is very naive.
Yeah, I had to take a personality test called the MMPI, and it's something like 400 yes or no, or true or false questions. They're like designed to be interlinking, so you can't lie on it, and like fake a personality. And I scored. There's a scale that's paranoia and naivete. So, they're scored the same. Basically, it's like an inability to tell whether people are conspiring against you. So I think you and I both have that inability, but my assumption is they're not, and your assumption is that they are.
Well, I mean, I think I can tell. Jeez, everybody starts with a low score. You should be able to tell if people are conspiring against you, no?
Oh, okay. Well, then I can't. Maybe you would score it.
Why? Wait, why do you
lower.
feel like you can't? You can't tell if somebody's being like super fake or whatever?
No, no, I don't think so. I'm not a good judge of when people are lying to me, or when I'm getting screwed over. And like looking back at some relationships or friendships I've had, I'm like, oh, that didn't make any sense. My entire view of that was completely wrong and insane.
Do you ever watch Game of Thrones?
No, but I know it's like a series of backstabbing betrayals, right?
Sure. There was a
Destiny and MrGirl, the gruesome.
there's a character called Littlefinger. He's
Awesome,
a big
excellent.
schemer.
I need to get on the
And
web.
don't ever watch Game of Thrones because the ending is
Yeah, that's
the
the
worst.
me off of it.
Yeah, it is probably one of the worst contributions humanity has made to the universe. Like it's like
Okay.
atomic bombs, Holocaust, and Game of Thrones season 8 is really close
5 more reindeer.
That's pretty bad.
there.
And
Yeah.
then we'll be out of
So
here.
Littlefinger says he's a
Then
schemer
we're
guy.
going to
He
be
says,
going to the ice dungeon. Actually, no, we're going to beat up trees.
I promise I'm making
We're
it
going to beat
once
up
a-
trees, y'all.
He says, anytime I'm trying to figure out somebody's motivations, I try to think of like how could they like do the worst against me, basically.
Take
Or
that,
if you put somebody in the worst
environmentalists.
light, do their actions still line up? Man, okay, I have a very non-trusting view of the world. This is typically how I view people, and then I try to see like how actions, whenever I ask certain questions, like how are they going to respond to these things. Let me give you a more concrete example, okay? So
I don't trust the world either. Fuck all of you.
Done that with me.
I'm kind of always doing it, but I haven't explicitly done it with you. But this would be like an example of something you could try.
Can we go through it? Do we do it with me?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Yeah. So like, I messaged
so-
you and I said, hey, I think it was something like, I'm curious to chat with you about like the online stuff that you get now, like how that's different than before and now or whatever. I think I said something like that, right? Let's say that you respond to me and you say something like, this would be a cool thing to talk about, but I don't really think I'm comfortable talking about it on stream or publicly. If you said something like that to me, and then I was like, okay, that's cool, I understand, we don't have to talk about that then. What would your feeling be from that?
Oh, you want me to think about it
Yeah.
from my point of view, how I would feel?
Yeah.
if you said we don't have to talk about it publicly, I think I would feel warmly, because it would mean you're not just trying to have the conversation for content. You actually also want to have it.
Oh, okay, sure. That's not exactly what I said, but you get the point. But what I was saying originally was like, what if I said, okay, we don't have to talk then, and then I just drop it completely, never talk about it. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you said, I didn't understand.
But no, but you got the essence of it. So like, yeah, if I was
well, do you
like,
see
okay,
how
cool.
I interpret? You gave me like a bad scenario, and I
Sure, but it's like one or two words different. But like, yeah, that's true. So like, if I was willing to
I
have a
interpreted it
conversation,
completely backwards.
it's okay. It's not a big deal. If I'm willing to have a
I'm saying
conversation.
that speaks to my naivete.
It
But I'm
might
like,
be.
well, whatever he says, I'm sure.
But if we never have the conversation, at some point you would probably feel like, okay, shit, this guy's just trying to like use my emotional shit for content, basically, and he doesn't actually give a fuck otherwise, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but there are things like that. You'll find a lot of like popular people. Don't ever want.
Use me for content. That'll help me grow. Use me for land development. Please.
I hang out or do anything unless there's either content involved or they're streaming it or there's something in it for them. You're not necessarily that point, yeah, but like we get to that point, I guess. And these are kind of the ways you can tell if somebody's genuinely interested or not, right?
Yeah. Wait. So how would you do that? How would I screw you over?
Well, no one can screw me over because nobody has enough to screw me over because I don't give anybody that much shit. So, I mean, I guess my wife could screw me over by making a false rape claim to the police. I don't know. But very few people are in a position to screw me. Because I operate really independently. I don't really have a team. I don't really sponsor. I don't really do any of that shit. So. Twitch would screw me over, I guess, by banning me. So if you somehow got Twitch to ban me, that would screw me over. Oh, actually, I don't want to say no. If you got me banned from Twitch somehow, that would probably screw me over.
But that's me getting somebody else. You're saying that I don't have enough information or clout to affect you negatively.
Well, I'm using myself as an example is a very bad thing because I'm very unique on this platform. Like I have my own website, where I have my own subscription, my own chat, my own community.
I could get arrested with child porn. I don't know if that'd screw you over, but it wouldn't.
It would make me look pretty bad for sure. Yeah.
I'd have to, if I self-destruct, basically. I can.
Sure. Especially in a child porn like way would be
right. I could inflict a minor amount of damage.
Yeah, it would be pretty dumb for a while. Yeah, people would probably make fun of me for that probably, for sure.
3 candy.
But you
3
see,
more pieces of candy.
For you to do that would
2 more pieces of candy.
I assume that most people wouldn't do that. Which is actually, that's a naive assumption on my part. A lot of people actually will totally self-destruct. So be careful.
Or just self-destruct for the fuck of it. I'm surprised at how many. Maybe you have some insight as to why so many content creators seemingly just destroy their own careers for no reason. I don't understand.
Give me an example.
I don't want to name names. I guess I just mean people who record themselves doing and saying things that destroy their credibility, and then it takes them months or years to regain it, or they never regain it. People who say I'm quitting YouTube when they have 5 million subs, and then come back 6 months later and say, oh, never mind. Just nonsensical, terrible decisions. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Kind of, yeah. I understand the question.
I feel like if you have a big YouTube channel, you should probably just like slow down, not just stop. So let's say you do a video every 2 weeks, maybe a video once a month instead. So that way you can still like build your platform, or at least keep it at a certain level.
Question. Maybe because I've been in the business long, right? I think I know a little bit better why people do sometimes the things they do. Sometimes it's just recklessness. Sometimes people get too comfortable. Sometimes a lot of people are like immediately thrust into these positions, and they end up making really big mistakes, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
But it just kind of depends, yeah.
And you have no team or manager or anything?
I have like an agency that gets me sponsorships, but I operate way more independently than most people, just because I think people are very, very unable. So.
I have a content editor. And his only job is to tell me when to not post a video.
Yeah, that's good.
So he has
Not post
full,
video.
yeah, or when to delete a video. So he has full veto power over the whole channel. So everything I make, I show to him before I post it. And he tells me if it's too long or too boring or too bad or just not funny or not interesting or whatever. I think he's only axed like 5 things, probably. He's definitely made me re-edit a bunch of things.
Okay.
Yeah, I find that I am surprised that more people don't have something like that. I feel like that will be helpful.
For sure. I don't do anything manually with my YouTube. There's another guy that runs all of that for me.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, where are we going with this?
I don't think I can take sponsorships. I don't think I'll get any. And if I got them, I don't know how to take them.
Probably not.
Because I think my whole I probably won't get them. But it is as a thought experiment. I feel like part of why people would watch me is that they know I'm not being paid to say or not. They know I'm going to say what I'm actually thinking. And as soon as people are paying you,
That comes into question.
it comes into question. I think even with like donations and Patreon, it starts. There is a little voice in my head that's like my Patreon grew by like 25% in the last 2 days, and so now I'm working on my next video, and it's impossible to say like, oh, I'll just put that out of my head and just make the next thing. Like, it's hard to not be trying to figure out what they want to hear.
I mean, it depends on your goals and the purpose for why you're doing something, right? Like, if it's become like a thing that you use to pay the bills, then that's obviously going to happen.
Literally, if you haven't seen,
There might be a certain type of content
if you ever seen fucking Naruto Shippuden and Pain's almighty push, this attack is kind of like that. The whole thing is to push people, and the farther they get put, the closer they are when you do it, the more they get. Yeah, the closer they are when you do the attack, the more damage they take, as well as more health you have.
You really enjoy doing, but there might be a different type of content that your fans really enjoy watching, and that's going to butt heads every now and then. You might want to film, you know, your 20th whatever video, and they want to see you do like a whatever thing.
I guess usually they want to see the 20th whatever thing, and you want to
do like a
yeah. Yeah, I think that's usually the conflict.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that's really hard in the art world too, because like music stuff you do.
We are done with the reindeer
candy.
candy.
And there's never going to be a payoff for it ever. It's not even going to be remotely close. Monetarily, I mean, right? There might be like a more artistic thing that you get out of it, but or if you like obviously if you go fucking huge. But realistically,
I mean, yeah, if you go huge, then music becomes a self-sustaining income stream. But yeah, we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. This is super random. Do you know my favorite rapper of all time? A guy called Uncle Adams.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm almost level 210. Come on, let's go.
Totally not related to this. That was just random. I was curious. Okay. What do you want to go from here?
Oh yeah, it's up here.
Oh, here's a thing. Do you ever think that sometimes you should make it more clear that you're being shocking, or do you like to live in that ambiguity?
Okay, so like with the
Must live in that ambiguity.
Okay.
I made that for my under 2,000 subs, and I didn't. In my videos, until that point, were not really viewed by people who were not already subscribers. There would usually be 1 or 2 new people coming in and saying, like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
And then the people would say, like, explain it to them. They're like, okay, I get it. So when I made that, I did not expect it to really have an effect of being shocking, because everybody who was going to watch it would already understand that, like, if I say a 12-year-old is hot, they'll understand what I mean and why I'm saying that. They'll they
There's
get
a level of charitability that's afforded to you from an inner friend group, whereas an outer group is going to,
Yes.
When you're being concise, you have like this sliver of meaning, but when you're being kind of like ironic or sarcastic, there's a huge gray area. But most of your fans are probably over here, but strangers coming in will be over here. So when you say something like that 12-year-old's hot, your fans will probably be like, okay, this is like max.
Two
Except I wasn't being ironic. Except I wasn't joking when I said that.
Okay. Do you want? I now have to have you expand on that. What do you mean by that?
I think we should move on. No, what do you want me to... What do you mean, what do I mean by that? It's self-explanatory. It's not... It's the fact that I'm not joking is what makes it funny.
Well, then it's not a joke. I mean, in general, you don't...
I don't think that's...
Hold on. In general, you don't find 12-year-olds hot, right?
No, that's why I was mentioning it, because it was surprising.
Okay.
I was like, this movie... I said, they're trying to make you see 12-year-olds as hot. And I was like... And lo and behold, they did a pretty good job.
Okay, so... Okay, let's go further into this. When you say that, what do you think is like, what is the impression that the average person gets?
That you're a pedo? A pedo?
Because I think sometimes it feels like maybe you don't understand.
The average person?
Yeah, when they hear a statement like that.
Well, I know the impression because now I know that the impression is that they... So this conversation is a good example. If I'm not reading the chat,
sure,
but I assume it is not 500 people calling me a pedophile and saying that I need to go to jail. But if I said this on Bosch's stream, that is what they would say. But the context, it's not. It's not a circle of close friends, but it has the same effect of like...
I understand what you're saying. So let me. Can I take what you're saying? I think, and then kind of like
rework it.
Yeah. So and then let me give you an example. Now you might not care about this. Maybe you don't give a fuck about this, and that's fine if you don't. But
I think I give a fuck about this in the opposite direction.
Well, in the opposite direction, you're doing a really good job because you're being as provocative as possible while hanging yourself as much as possible in every statement, if that's your goal.
I think I'll tell you my goal. Well, okay. Should I tell you my goal first, or do you want to tell me how you would repackage it? I'll tell you how.
Yeah, I can repackage it. You tell me if this is like contrary to what you would like to accomplish, I guess, right? So I said earlier, when you're on your own channel and you make a comment, you know, like this 12-year-old is hot, people know you're kind of being like ironic or sarcastic, right? That was what I said earlier, okay? And then you responded, well, no, I'm serious. Right? So maybe instead of that, right, a more rhetorically mindful response would be, well, no, what I was talking about was the idea that generally, I don't see 12-year-olds as being hot, so we're reinforcing the social norm there. But the thing about this movie was that its goal was to provide an evocative sense of what a 12-year-old could look like in a sexual manner as a like comparison to how adolescents are being framed right now in society. So in that sense, the movie like achieved its effect of portraying a 12 or 13-year-old in a sexual manner, even though normally that would be like a shocking thing to see. And I think the movie achieved its goal there. That would be a way where you said the same thing, but now you've made your stated position on hot 12-year-olds clear, that it's not something you normally, or hopefully maybe ever participate in, or maybe once in your 8700 days. So like,
you've made your statement on hot 12-year-olds clear.
You're not normally thinking about it, right? But this in this case, this movie like was evocative in that sense. And do you understand like the second leaves less room for people, or at least bad faith people to attack you with?
Oh shit.
The second one assures the person you're talking to that you understand the social norm.
Yeah.
And that you are going to write yourself a hall pass to break the social norm briefly without saying, I'll be right back. I just want to take you over here for a second. and show you something from this perspective, and then we will both go back into the world where saying a 12-year-old is hot is a terrible thing, and I would never do that. And effectively, I didn't just do that. I didn't say that, and this didn't happen.
Yeah. Also, real quick, your stream went down apparently like 5 or 10 minutes ago, so I don't know if you need to restart that or what, or if that's not super
Do I just stop and start again?
I don't know why it went down, so.
I don't know why either. It's a connection loss.
My arm hurts.
Starting it, but.
Oh my god, my arm
Kilobytes
hurts.
per second, 0.
I think.
That seems bad.
What time is
Have
it?
a good internet connection?
How long have you been streaming? Too?
Maybe is that the problem that I'm doing it in 2 places at once?
Does it still
I
say,
don't
does it
know.
just say 0?
Kilobytes per second in OBS in the lower right corner says 0.
That makes it sound like you either have the wrong stream key in or the wrong name.
Did not access that to the specified channel or stream key.
Wait a second.
Please double check it.
What bit rate do you
Pop
stream
out chat. Yes.
3,500.
at? Okay.
Thank
Maybe
you.
try.
Should I lower it?
No.
Or was it 4,000?
Perfect.
Well, why would it
That's
change?
all
Why would
I
the stream key?
needed.
Did I get banned or something? Why would it not be able to access the stream key? Okay, change it to.
Try restarting
Change it
it.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, change it. Oh, restart the application.
Yeah, or like log in again if it doesn't count like a stream key. I don't know if it got reset somehow.
Jesus, this is long. Holy crap.
Okay, so I should stop streaming and close
Okay.
it. It says I'm live. That's not true though.
Well,
That's what you're saying.
doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the best advice you've given me of all.
Is it?
Just to have my stream actually be streaming.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to argue.
Okay.
I'm gonna close OBS and reopen it.
Cool. Oh, these trees. None of these trees can be. Oh,
I feel like it's just,
Thank
I
you.
feel like it's not working.
Well, you're not online, so yeah, it does.
Oh, there it goes. Man, look how washed out my colors are compared. Look at all the colors you've got there.
Well, I like to be color coordinated.
I know it's smart. I should figure that out.
Well, I mean, your aesthetic is nice.
I know, but next to you, it's so dreary.
Well, what can I say?
I know. I have a lot to learn. Okay, so I get what you're saying. You're saying that instead of leaving the door open for, I wouldn't even say bad faith. I think you're right. Just
Yeah, you haven't left the door open, to be clear. You're standing at like the mouth of a massive fucking cave that can't even be closed when you make a statement. Which, if that's your intention, that's okay. But if you understand that if that is intentionally what you're doing, then there's stuff that you have to be more ready to deal with. Like, you're forever going to be branded and called a pedophile and everything. Like, my community even says that to you, right? That's not just Vosh's. Like, my community is really torn on.
BGG would never say that. Okay. They know me. Yeah, they trust me just like you trust me. Okay, I think what I like about it, okay, there is something. Imagine the opposite situation. You're hanging out with a friend, right? And you're talking about Black Lives Matter. And you say they look at you and they say, listen, I understand there's socio-political pressures on black people that might make them more likely to run from or resist arrest when the police are questioning them. So I get that. So I just want to let you know that I understand that before I say what I'm about to say, Stephen. But what I'm feeling is, when I watch these videos of black people, you know, getting shot or beaten, part of me, and this is awful, this is really awful, part of me feels like, why don't you just do what the cop is saying?
Sure.
I feel like that would feel distancing. Like that, if my friend of mine's, like if Shaylin said that to me, I would fucking slap her across the face. I would be heartbroken because it's like, it's so distancing that the person you're supposed to trust at this point
slapper
is being a politician.
I understand what you're saying. That is the reality of online interactions.
And to some, yeah, but that how fucking annoying is that? Because you can't have, like, then what's the point of having a conversation, or at least say, hey, this entire conversation, I'm gonna have it, but I'm gonna like semi-grift the whole time because everyone is watching. It's like, then don't fucking talk to me. Then shut the fuck up. Why would I want to listen to someone that can't even give their own opinion on it? Like, you can't. It's not even your opinion, dude. I don't know why I said dude like that.
Just unfortunately, there is just.
But I want to change. See, I think there's a.
You can't change that.
I am changing. Well, I am and I can. I think that there is a meta message that I'm sending at the same time, which is that I demand that you trust me. In exchange for your trust, I will say my unvarnished truth about 12-year-old girls. And in exchange for that, you gotta trust me. You gotta trust me. And so it's really rough. It's really rough for new people.
I will say that
Don't watch the
unvarnished
channel.
truth.
Obviously, that's very uncomfortable. For some people, it's a breath of fresh air. Or as someone emailed me and said that it felt like I gave them an orange to suck down after they had scurvy for 6 months. But then for other people, it's horrifying. So
I think there are two big problems with this. Okay, I might have a goal. I tried this for a long time. There are two big problems. One.
Oh well, fuck you.
Yeah. One is, you won't survive.
You don't have to give up.
Yeah.
We can do this together.
Okay. The first problem is you just won't survive it because people will actually destroy your ability to be a platform anywhere. Like people will report you on Twitch, report you on YouTube. Like, you said that you got reported on YouTube for the Cuties review, right?
I got reported on. Okay, yeah. So YouTube banned me.
Did
I
you
appealed.
in that review? Did you say like I want to go buck 12-year-olds or anything crazy? Like, did you say anything like that? Like at that level? Like, do you think you should be banned?
No, the creepiest thing here's the 2 creepiest things I said.
Okay, the 2 creepiest. Okay, you have a list.
There's probably like 15, but the
Okay.
creepiest was I said this movie tries to make you attracted to 11-year-old girls, and it's not bad at it. As far as I said, your mileage may vary, but for me it was fairly successful. And the other creepy thing I said is like I said, the movie's really interesting because like it's challenging you to just the movie's saying to you, look at the blonde one. So I did like that. That was a joke, obviously. The other one was not really a joke, and there were also clips of the girls dancing in the review. I think this was the problem.
Gotcha.
No, I didn't say.
It's. I guess it's possible.
I didn't break TOS.
Okay, but you still
so
got
the video
fucked
it got
anyway,
taken.
right?
Well, sort of. The video got taken down, and then I appealed it, and they put it back up.
Okay.
It got taken down again. I appealed it. It got put back up. This happened 3 times, and then my entire channel got deleted.
Okay. Wait, so the channel you're on right now is a new channel, or?
No, the channel I'm on now was deleted in December of last year. I started a new channel. In April, I got an email that was like, "Hey, actually, your channel doesn't violate TOS, and it's reinstated." 4 months later, and then I was like, "This is perfect. I just finished this I'm a pedophile music video. I can throw this up, and we can get back to business as usual."
Okay.
So I made my comeback, and then it got deleted again because I made a video where Shaylin and I, you know those ads on Pornhub,
Which one?
the ones that are like a GIF of like a story that plays really fast in the corner.
Maybe.
It's like someone getting stuck in a washing machine or
sure,
somebody.
yeah.
It's like a whole porn movie but playing in like 5 seconds
Sure. What about it?
in fast motion. You can imagine it. So I was like, I want to make one of those.
Okay.
And so I made like a mini documentary of me talking Shaylin into making it.
Okay.
And like the process of us making it and all the like disturbing conversations we had about it and what we were doing. And then we made it, and then so it's called I Made a Pornhub Parody GIF. And people kept reporting it as being porn, but there's no porn in it, but there's porn in the title. So then my channel got deleted again, and then when they reinstated it, they deleted the video. I don't think because it broke TOS, but they were just like, like the algorithm has no way to know that this isn't porn, except someone has to manually review this like every week or something. So like, just stop.
So are you not worried at all then in this route? Because in my original plan I had 2 things. And the first thing I said was you won't survive it. Are you not worried that like one of these things is just going to ding you and then...
That's the thing. Like, you would hope that. Well, no, you wouldn't expect. You would hope that people who are watching something is like, oh, it has this in the title, so it must be that. I guess you've never been clickbaited before. Oh, okay, but I don't like this guy, and it has the title of it, so therefore that's what it is. It's just like, I'd rather you just not report shit. If you didn't watch the shit, you don't know it's like that, then don't report on it. Don't report the video. It is not what you're reporting it on. Or it is not what you're reporting it for, so don't do it. You're an asshole.
Then it's gonna be like, oh fuck, that was the last one, and I'm not gonna get a manual because your channel could have been permanently gone on any of these reviews. You just happened to get the right person watching it, and then that didn't happen. But it's not inconceivable that next time will be the last time, no?
Yeah, I think that I need to do things that break TOS on your streams instead of mine. No, I think that I do think I need to be a little more careful. I wouldn't put clips of prepubescent girls twerking on my channel anymore. I think that was a little foolish. And I did go back and take down some videos that had like nudity. There's a lot of me naked on my own channel for a while.
On YouTube?
I did. Yeah, not full frontal, but my ass was in like 3 different videos, so I took those down.
Okay.
Actually, I think there's one that's still up.
Okay. I think I have to take
there
a
is still one, but I don't think that breaks TOS, depending on the context. It's artistic.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree that.
Take a smoke, bro. I gotta do a couple things.
Don't you think that what I've already said and done is enough to have people flagging my channel just forever starting now? If I reach any level, I could just play folk songs on the guitar, and people are going to flag my channel forever starting now. If I, to whatever extent I have any success.
I mean, like, yeah, but I mean, like, the more you go, the more people are gonna... It would just suck that if you got banned for, like, if you just got banned, because then it's all over, and it doesn't really matter what you think or stand for or anything, like, it was kind of done. And that seems to be the goal these days. The goal isn't really to...
platform.
Yeah, the goal isn't to engage. The goal is to beat you with a hammer that you saw, basically. That's kind of the goal.
Well, fuck all of you people. I'll say all of y'all are some bitch-ass people. I'm not going to engage with this, but I'm going to make sure no one else can see it. What if I want to see it? What if I want to see it? You're telling me I don't get to see it anymore because you have a problem with it? Fuck you, man. You a bitch. Fuck you. At least let me be disgusted. Let me be disgusted by some shit. Give me that right to do that.
Days online. So anybody that's like watching or listening to this, like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe it would have been like, okay, we need to go debate this guy and prove that he's like a pedophile, blah, blah, blah. But now it's like, no, we need to call this guy's apartment complex, let them know who's hosting him, and then get him kicked out, and then deplatform from literally everything for the rest of his life. Like, that's like the goal now when people are doing like this online shit.
That's horrible.
Cringe.
Yeah, that's
losers.
I do agree with that.
Cringe losers. Get a life.
I don't think Vosh should be banned from Twitch.
No, I don't think so either. It wasn't really that bad compared to Hassan. If he appeals, he might come back, but not being on here gives him an excuse, another one to avoid me. So.
Yeah, and the Vosh subreddit, they're talking about reporting my website.
And they'll go really far too, and that's the thing that sucks these days. Because way back in the day, maybe they would just report your website, but now they'll like report your domain service provider. Now they'll try to report your host.
Jesus Christ! Like, who has time to figure all that? You know what I'll do when I don't like a person? I just stop
Somebody
watching
at some point
it.
will break because of where society's at these days
You know?
and stuff. So.
I don't like to find out all this
doesn't that also
information.
make you
What's
wanna be
your
like,
address?
Fuck
That makes you a creep.
Yeah,
Why are you looking up somebody's address when they're online? You're weird.
You can't fight every
You're
battle.
creepy.
You just can't. You'll just get buried and you lose. Like one person can't do it. There was a woman, really cool person. I think she is not always right in her arguments, but she got into an argument recently related to like public sex, basically. And she was making an argument that like if you go outside barefoot and your partner has like a foot fetish, you're like traumatizing children. Not exactly like that, but that you're like engaging in a sex act in front of children without their consent, even if you don't do anything, right? So I think it was a pretty silly argument. Most people seem to agree. But people got so mad over that argument that people reported her to her local bar to try to get her disbarred from ever becoming a lawyer because she's like a third-year law student.
They're mad because they're saying it's anti-foot fetish?
They're just mad because they think she was wrong in her debate. And
yeah, but what faction of people is...
very far left people, because the people that she was arguing against were very far left people. But she wasn't far left enough. She's like a avowed trans person in every group she is. Like, she just wasn't far left enough.
Hey, bro. Even trans people aren't left in. Like, he's like, oh, we should fight for you, fight for your opinion, fight for your right to be heard. Okay, this is my opinion. Shut the fuck up. We don't give a fuck about what you have to say. It's like, all right, bro. Ow. Damn. Flipping like a damn patty.
But the person she was arguing with identifies as like a deer, so she's like a little bit higher on the tier of protected classes. Sorry, but yeah, but I'm just trying to say like that's the level that people will go to like destroy you. So it's like it's hard to fight against all of that.
Did they succeed?
Sorry, trans people. Your transness is within the bounds of being a human. I'm sorry. If you really want to go the route to where we should treat you with what you identify as, if you say you're a deer, don't go out during hunting season and it won't be murder because you're not a deer. I mean, you're not a human. You don't get the same rights as humans do. You better make up your mind and be like the whole thing. It's like not just, well, I'm a human where it's beneficial, I'm a deer where it's also beneficial. Like, no.
No, not this time.
See? Even Destiny said no.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm going down a dark path.
I mean, like, Trump is deplatformed from social media, and he's a pretty powerful dude.
But Trump breaks TOS.
True, but I'm just saying that, like, if he can't get unbanned from Twitter, there's a good chance that it'll happen to you and then you'll just get completely fucked, right?
Do you think January 6th was an insurrection?
I think it was pretty close to it. The only reason why
An unsuccessful insurrection, but
the thing that hurts me is that like I'm looking for like a level of planning when we call it that, and I don't think that level of coordination or planning prior to that existed. It looked to me like a lot of people that went to protest, they were mad. I do think that you could probably levy that charge at a few people. I think the FBI said like 5% of people there were organized or something. Those guys maybe, but for like the overall crowd, I think it was just a lot of dipshits wandering through the halls of fucking the Capitol Hill, and it was just really fucking stupid. I do think there are probably a few actors there that you might be able to know that, but I wouldn't call the whole thing an insurrection. If it was, then they would have killed lawmakers because there were enough people there to do it easily. There were like fucking 2 cops there to hold up like 10,000 protesters. If it was a planned insurrection, then they would have insurrected. That's how I view it. But.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a break right here, y'all.
But there are strong arguments on both sides of that too.
I'm gonna cut the stream real quick and have like a break to where I use the bathroom and shit, and throw some pizza in the oven and all of that shit. I'm gonna take a quick break. I wonder, is there a... We're just gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna cut it here. We're gonna move this over here. And I'm gonna